Chapter 1419. Sauron, I have something to discuss with you. After Sauron introduced the game guide to everyone, the pre-battle meeting came to an end. Liu called Sauron over and prepared to create something new. Sir Victor, what orders do you have? Following Liu to the study, Sauron sat down on a stool and asked Liu. Sauron, the battle in Disaster's Nest is extremely dangerous. The slightest bit of carelessness will result in total annihilation. You should know that the ancient red dragon's strength is comparable to that of a low divine power god. Liu looked up at Soren and said with a smile, I'm going to make a virtual illusion. It will completely simulate the environment of Disaster's Nest and the power of the ancient red dragon. Through this illusion, everyone's tactics will be honed until there are no mistakes. What do you think? Sauron opened his mouth wide and was a bit stunned. Wasn't this so-called virtual illusion a virtual game? Were you planning to create a Disaster's Nest game? This is very difficult, isn't it? Sauron came back to his senses and thought for a long time. He felt that this was too difficult. Even if Sauron was a professional player and was familiar with the Disaster's Nest strategy, he had personally killed the ancient red dragon. However, it was too unrealistic for Sauron to create all the game settings. Moreover, the real world was not a game. This virtual illusion that you created with the ancient red dragon as a wooden dummy, not only would it not serve as a training exercise, but it would also mislead everyone. So, I need you to provide me with information. In fact, Liu did not need Sauron to provide any information at all. This was just a pretense. The Disaster's Nest under the Carmel Mountains might be a mysterious, unknown world to others. However, to Liu, what secrets did this world have? His main body, which was hidden in the void, had adapted to this world for a while and was familiar with the fragility of this world. He did not cause any commotion and only had the system scan the Disaster's Nest. It would not affect anything. The system scanned the information of the Disaster's Nest and constructed a virtual illusion. It couldn't be any easier. Even without the system, Liu could construct a virtual world that was equivalent to reality with the illusory power of the Great Void Path. Therefore, Liu's cheating method was much more subtle. They didn't have to resort to brute force to kill the ancient Crimson Dragon. Instead, they had to resort to some technical means, which was more subtle. It would also give the legendary champions a greater sense of honor and belonging. In order not to go too far, Liu called Sauron over and used Sauron's information as a cover to build a virtual illusion. I'll give it a try. Since Sir Victor wanted to make a virtual game for practice, although Soren didn't think it would be very useful, he didn't resist too much. He was very cooperative and provided Liu with all kinds of information. First, the map. Using this sand table that Soren had shown during his class as a foundation, Liu cast a spell to create a simple map image, allowing Soren to personally experience the map of the Disaster's Nest. I don't really remember the exact size. Soren's soul fell into the map image, circled around the virtual Disaster's Nest, and then left the map. Sir Victor, in the information that my father recorded, there was no mention of the exact size of the Disaster's Nest. The environment inside is also not very clear. I have no way to confirm it. Even professional players wouldn't pay attention to how long or wide the Disaster's Nest was, nor would they care about how high the temperature was inside. It's fine. I'll combine everyone's information and make a rough estimate of the environment. The environment is worse than the real Disaster's Nest. Won't it be better for you to train? Liu had already created a virtual illusion of the Disaster's Nest long ago. He was just putting on an act now. All right then. Soren recalled his experience in the game. Based on his guesses and estimates, he gave some vague data according to Liu's request. However, Soren was still very clear about some key things. For example, how many monsters there were on the road, where those monsters were hiding, what skills they had, and what equipment they had. These things were Soren's expertise. As he spoke, Soren suddenly felt a shock in his heart. I was too clear, wasn't I? I even said that the cave guard, the lava lizard king, would self-destruct before it died. Isn't this exposed? If he hadn't killed the lava lizard king with his own hands, how would he know that it would self-destruct before it died? The problem was that the lava lizard king was still alive and well. Even his father, who had died who knew how long ago, couldn't take the blame for such a flaw, right? Soren secretly glanced at Liu and found that Liu didn't seem to notice this at all. Instead, he was seriously thinking and constantly deducing the details of the disaster's nest. Soren secretly sighed in relief. Yes, thank you for your help. Soren, your information is very valuable. As if he had really deduced something, Liu waved his hand at Soren and went into the construction of the virtual illusion. All right, as long as you think it's useful. Since he had exposed himself, Soren didn't dare to pursue this matter anymore and hurriedly left. Time passed day by day. A month had passed. When the legends who stayed in the Wizard Tower had all played with the holy light in various ways, Liu announced that his virtual illusion had officially been completed. Everyone, this is the great pioneering work of defeating the ancient red dragon. Liu gathered everyone in the academic hall and gave each of them something that looked like an eye patch. With the information provided by Soren and the information collected by everyone, I have created a virtual illusion. Inside, it is a complete simulation of all the information about the disaster's nest, including the ancient red dragon. Liu held up an eye patch in his hand and demonstrated it in front of their eyes. Activate the runes, and we can all enter the virtual disaster's nest. Come, let's go and see how strong the ancient red dragon is. Virtual illusion? This thing, is it reliable? Everyone took the eye patch in doubt and imitated Liu's appearance. They put it on and released a ray of holy light to activate the runes on the eye patch. With a buzz, everyone felt their souls shake and a brand new world appeared in front of them. This is the Carmel Mountains? Everyone was in a huge valley surrounded by steep cliffs, as if it was a huge volcanic crater. There was a faint, scorching aura around them, and there was also the smell of sulfur. It seemed this really was the entrance to the disaster's nest. Chapter 14:20. Yes, this is the Carmel mountain range. Liu pointed at the cliff in front of them, where there was a huge cave shining with red light. In fact, this is the entrance to Disaster's nest. Because I don't know what kind of sealing runes the ancient red dragon set up, my illusion is not sealed by runes. Everyone can enter Disaster's nest directly. All right, it looks quite real. The legendary powerhouses smiled and shook their heads. They did not care too much about this virtual illusion and just treated it as a game. Let's go. Let's take a look at Sir Victor's virtual illusion. Everyone laughed as they stepped into the cave and entered Disaster's nest. Then, what the hell is this? Ow, fire. My hair is on fire. Damn it, that lizard sprayed lava all over my face. Bastard, why does it hurt? It hurts. Not long after, the legendary powerhouses fled Disaster's nest in a sorry state, each of them covered in dirt. Everyone, I've already said that this place imitates the environment and monsters of Disaster's nest as much as possible. This is not a game. In this illusion, if you are injured, you will still feel pain and die. However, you can revive at any time. Liu smiled and shrugged. Don't underestimate this illusion. You can't blame me if you get killed by the ancient red dragon. Sounds interesting. The illusion was so real that it might really be helpful in the battle of the ancient red dragon. Then they cannot play around. The group of legendary powerhouses put away their playful thoughts and waved their hands to release a ray of holy light to heal their injuries. One by one, they picked up their weapons and stepped into Disaster's nest with a serious expression. Stacking a series of fire resistance halos, the group of legendary powerhouses endured the holy light, brandished their weapons, released their spells, and killed their way into Disaster's nest. After a while, everyone retreated in defeat again. Damn it, I'm going to be suffocated to death by the sulfuric smell of Disaster's nest. I can't breathe. The legendary powerhouses fled Disaster's nest in a sorry state. They leaned on their weapons and bent their backs, gasping for breath. Didn't I say it before? This place perfectly simulated the environment of Disaster's nest. Air filled with sulfur, scorching hot, and highly toxic also exists. Liu spread out his hands with a smile on his face, without the slightest bit of embarrassment for not reminding everyone. All right, I'll try my best to simulate the disaster's nest perfectly. The corners of everyone's mouths twitched as they shook their heads helplessly. Without the Oak Elder's natural purification runes, we could forget about entering. After a few hits, they will be suffocated to death by the poisonous sulfur. Right now, I'm just letting everyone experience it. For a real battle simulation, of course, we have to gather everyone. Liu smiled and pointed behind his ear. Use the holy light to activate the runes here, and you'll be able to get out of the illusion. I'm leaving first. If you're interested, you can continue to play. With a wave of his hand, Liu's figure instantly disappeared and left the illusory space. Without the natural purification rune, there's no way to fight. Everyone left the illusory space one after another. A day later, under the constant urging of the Witch Queen, the legendary druid Oak Elder, who lived at an extremely slow pace, finally arrived at the Tower of Truth and met up with everyone. Tran. When Liu saw this Oak Elder, he realized that this legendary druid was actually a huge oak tree with a human face. If not for the fact that the teleportation room was extremely spacious, this Oak Elder's arrival would probably have pierced through the roof. Oldwood, what the hell are you doing? Turning into this ghastly form, are you here to tear down the house? The Witch Queen seemed to have an unusual relationship with the Oak Elder. When she saw the Oak Elder in his treant form, she angrily raised her magic staff and smashed it heavily at him. Oh, sorry, I've been in the forest for too long. I've gotten used to my oak form and forgot to change back. With a flash of green light, the Oak Elder turned into his human form. However, the druid was too natural. It was so natural that there was nothing on his body that was not natural. My eyes. This old man's eyes are going blind. A burly man with a head full of green hair and a height of almost 2 meters appeared in the teleportation room in front of everyone. This made the group in the teleportation room so depressed that they were speechless for a long time. You're a green-haired man. Why are you still playing with body art? It would be better if you were a cute girl. Oh, sorry. I haven't come out in a long time. I forgot to wear clothes. The Oak Elder hurriedly waved behind him and covered himself with a layer of clothes made of leaves, finally covering the places that needed to be covered. Your Excellency Oak Elder, this time I invited you to come here to deal with the threat of the ancient red dragon together. We need your help. As the organizer, Liu could only stare at the annoyance in his heart and reply to this green-haired man. Once the ancient red dragon awakens, all the countries will turn into a sea of fire. The forest will also be burned to ashes by its raging flames. In order to protect nature, we druids of the Earth Ring are willing to fight side by side with everyone. The Oak Elder immediately expressed that he was willing to fight with all his might. Then, let's go to the virtual world to experiment first. He brought the Oak Elder to the academic hall, which had been changed into a virtual world battlefield. Everyone put on blindfolds, activated the runes, and entered the virtual world, officially simulating the battle against the ancient red dragon. Since it's a simulation, I'll watch the show first. After letting Sauron in, Liu did not plan to go in and be tortured. Liu's excuse was that with so many people entering the virtual world together, he was worried that there would be an accident in the virtual world, so he needed to stay outside to ensure that there would be no problems. In fact, the quality of the system's products was guaranteed, so how could there be any problems? The only problem was that Liu was slacking off. In this virtual world, I've directly doubled the strength of all the monsters in the disaster nest. Even if they have Sauron's strategy, they will still be tortured miserably. Sure enough, in the first simulated attack, the legendary team had just killed their way through the lava lizards area. Before they could even enter the half-dragons area, they were blocked halfway by the ancient red dragon, who had a bellyful of woke up grumpily, and half of their body was paralyzed. The overwhelming lava spurted out, drenching the group of legendary masters. Their bodies were covered in flames, and even their fire resistance auras could not withstand it. Following closely behind was the dragon wing strike, which was like harvesting wheat. This group of legendary masters who were blocked in the narrow space and could not escape at all were all swept to the ground. Invincible Hearthstone. They failed the first round, except for a few legendary masters who saw that the situation was not good and immediately used Invincible Hearthstone to escape. The others were all dead. The only reward was that through this battle, it was once again proven that Invincible Hearthstone was an absolute life-saving skill that could be used anywhere. Let's take a break and continue. Very unconvinced, the legendary masters fought with this virtual world. They would not give up until they cleared the stage. Only Sauron was puzzled. That's not right, right? In my memory, the disaster nest was not so scary, right? With so many legendary masters and holy light skills, why did it take so long to kill through the lava lizards area? Also, why was the ancient red dragon so fierce? One lava spurt, and even dozens of fire resistance auras could not withstand it. One dragon wing strike, and all the meat shields and defense knights were swept to the ground. Sauron did not know that there was a scammer who was ruthlessly scamming them. Sweat more in normal times and bleed less in battle. When practicing, you have to magnify the enemy's strength. When you encounter a weakened enemy in a real battle, the battle will be easier. Scammerly expressed. Is this a scam? This is for your own good. The book group is full. Readers who have joined the group, please add a new group. 1379098823. Chapter 1421. The battle in the virtual world continued. Again and again, they charged into Disaster's nest and were defeated. Everyone's experience in clearing dungeons increased, and their teamwork improved. Mages focus fire in 3 seconds and cast ice freeze. We must kill the half-dragon made within 5 minutes. Otherwise, she will use the skill, high spirits, and revive all the dead draconians. Now, we are about to face the real test. The ancient red dragon's sleeping place is right in front of us. Defense knights, you must hold the ancient red dragon back. Let's go. Holy light and flames intertwined. Sword light shone, and dragon roars shook the sky. Fight! Wipe out! The cycle repeated over and over again. They would not give up until they defeated the enemy. The battle in the virtual world lasted for 3 months. Oh, we won. Ha ha! We are the Dragon Slayers. We won. On this day, the dragon-slaying team, who had experienced countless wipes, finally defeated the ancient red dragon and completed a great feat, even though this was just a virtual world. Hee, if I hadn't weakened the ancient red dragon's strength, it would have been impossible for you to defeat the ancient red dragon whose strength had doubled. However, Liu was still very impressed with their battle results. Even though Liu had gradually weakened the ancient red dragon, by the time they defeated it, the ancient red dragon was still 50% stronger. Compared to the real ancient red dragon, the ancient red dragon in the virtual world is 50% stronger. So, the dragon-slaying team is fully mature and can officially fight. Liu deactivated the virtual world and smiled as he looked at everyone who had left the virtual world. Congratulations, this is a great victory. Ha! Your Excellency Victor, we have defeated it. We have defeated it once, and we can defeat it countless times. Victory belongs to us. The tough battle in the virtual world had allowed everyone to use the power of holy light to reach perfection, and their strength had increased by a lot. Now, it was time to kill their way into the Carmel Mountains, the disaster's nest, and challenge the real ancient red dragon. We will officially set off in 3 days. The arduous battle in the illusory world had exhausted everyone physically and mentally. They had to spend 3 days recuperating to restore their combat power to its peak state before killing the ancient red dragon. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. In the past few months, we've put in all our effort and done everything we could to defeat evil, to defeat the ancient red dragon. Standing on the teleportation platform in the teleportation hall, Liu's expression was solemn, but his eyes were filled with excitement. In front of Liu, more than 40 fully armed dragon-slaying teams were standing in an orderly manner. Behind the dragon-slaying team were the Rhine King, Vivian, and the disciples and relatives of the various legendary masters. There were still countless people gathered outside the Mage Tower. They were the kings, ministers, and some of the people from the southern kingdoms. This battle is a battle of justice against evil. It's also a battle to save the entire southern countries. We have no way out. Once the ancient red dragon awakens and rushes out of the disaster nest, all the countries will be turned into a sea of fire, and countless people will die. We can only fight to the death. We will not return until we win this battle. Let's go. Liu drew his long sword and stepped into the teleportation portal with his head held high. We will fight to the death, and we will not return until we win. Everyone in the dragon-slaying team raised the weapons in their hands and shouted loudly as they stepped into the teleportation portal with their heads held high. Their mighty shouts echoed from the Mage Tower, and their fighting spirit shook the heavens and the earth. May all of you be invincible and return victorious. Outside the Mage Tower, the people from the southern kingdoms and various cities bowed deeply with respect. This is the Carmel mountain range. During this period, Liu had Master Langley set up a teleportation portal in the Carmel mountain range. After passing through the teleportation portal, everyone arrived at the entrance of the disaster nest. As expected, it's the ancient draconic runes. The Rune Grandmaster took the lead and walked to the sealed disaster nest. He carefully observed the runes and began to break the rune seal at the entrance of the nest. No problem, I'll destroy the runes now. A ray of magic light shot into the entrance of the nest. Boom! The ground cracked and the earth shook. The huge cliff in front of them collapsed, revealing a cave entrance that emitted scorching flames and a strong smell of sulfur. Prepare for battle. Add fire resistance aura and activate nature's purification. Defense Knights in front advance. Due to his perfect battle command in the virtual world, even though his strength was low, Soren had won the respect of all the legendary powerhouses. With Soren's command, the dungeon team officially stepped into the disaster nest. The battle instantly erupted. Lava lizards. As soon as they stepped into the disaster nest, a group of lava lizards that were dozens of meters long and covered in raging flames roared and charged at them. It's actually exactly the same as in the virtual world. Sir Victor is indeed amazing. After fighting in the illusory world for 3 months, he had killed so many lava lizards that his hands had grown numb. He had no idea how many times he had killed. No one panicked at all. According to the battle plan that had been implemented countless times in the virtual world, the melee powerhouses burst out with a holy light and brandished their weapons, fiercely attacking the lava lizards. Frost Freeze, Frost Arrow Rain, Icicle. The legendary wizards in the back threw out a series of ice spells. Then, they're so weak? Yeah, they're much weaker than the lava lizards in the virtual world. With just one round of attacks, the first wave of lava lizards was instantly wiped out. Compared to the battle in the virtual world, these lava lizards were too weak. The virtual world is just a simulation, after all. It can't be exactly the same. It's inevitable that there are some differences in strength. Liu naturally wouldn't say that he had tricked everyone, so he could only explain it this way. Advance quickly. Soren didn't hesitate at all and immediately ordered the attack. In his opinion, the current disaster hive was the normal disaster hive. The disaster hive in the virtual fantasy realm was simply a nightmare. Kill. Wizards cover the area with ice spells. Knights charge. The legendary team charged forward like a hurricane, sweeping out with unstoppable momentum. Soon, the team welcomed their first test. A group of insects. You dare to break into the palace of His Excellency the Dragon of Disaster? The great Nest Guard Lord Tulis will make you pay the price. As the raging flames surged, 100-meter-long giant beast with lava flowing all over its body roared and rushed out like an earth dragon. This was the Nest Guard, the leader of the lava lizards, Tulis, the first boss of the disaster nest. Defensive Knights attack. Wizards focus fire with ice spells. Melee Knights Activate vengeful fury and attack with all your might. The battle erupted. Chapter 14:22. Weak. Too weak. Too weak. When the boss battle broke out, everyone could clearly feel that this nest guard Tulis, who gave them a lot of pressure in the virtual illusion, was too weak. The attacks that needed to be blocked with all their might were easily blocked. The nest guard's fire burst skill did not cause much damage to them under the protection of the fire resistance aura. Compared to the virtual illusion, they had to be more careful. They needed their teammates to continuously cast holy light healing spells to withstand the nest guard's attacks. Tulis was now very easy to deal with. He only needed to use holy light a few times, and there was almost no damage. Attack with all your might. Soren was familiar with the nest guard's true strength, so he was not surprised. The experience of clearing Disaster's nest in the past could be used here. In less than half an hour, the lair guard was knocked to the ground. Lord Calamity Dragon will not let you go. The lair guard, Thales, roared and fell to the ground with a loud bang. It's going to explode. Dodge. Priests, all cast power word shield. With a loud bang, the nest guard's explosion shook the surroundings and sent debris flying everywhere. Although the people who were prepared to deal with it were covered in dirt from the flying debris and dust, they did not suffer any injuries. Continue forward. After killing the lava lizards, the dragons were right in front of them. In the ancient red dragon's nest, the lava lizards were the nest guards, responsible for guarding the periphery of the Disaster's nest. The dragons were the servants of the ancient red dragon and lived around the sleeping hall. Don't tangle with the dragons. Just rush over and kill the maid. The second boss of the Disaster's nest, the Draken Maid. This was a troublesome monster. It was not troublesome because of how strong it was, but because it had a very troublesome skill. Primordial Draken Maid. Primordial dragons could not only restore half-dead dragons to their peak state instantly, but also restore their HP and MP. Moreover, it could also revive the dead dragons. The strategy of clearing the dragons was not about how many dragons you killed, but about how quickly you killed the Draken Maid. If you did not kill it, it would be useless no matter how many monsters you killed. He had the correct strategy, powerful strength, and countless simulated battles. Under the attacks of the crowd, the half-dragon maid, full of vitality, could only scream and fall to the ground. It's said that the Dragon of Disaster and this half-dragon made full of vitality have a story that must be told. Looking like this, you can even go and carve it. The half-dragon maid looked like a giant lizard that walked upright. Liu admired the Dragon of Disaster's taste very much. I thought too highly of myself. Liu smiled and shook his head. The Dragon of Disaster was just a dragon, so its aesthetic sense was definitely different from that of humans. Perhaps in the eyes of the Dragon of Disaster, the half-dragon maid was a peerless beauty. Without expending much effort, everyone had already killed their way through the outer perimeter. In front of them was the sleeping hall, where the ancient red dragon slept. The real test had arrived. Consume the potion, replenish your HP and MP, and return to your peak state. Although they hadn't suffered many injuries, they had consumed a lot of stamina and mana. They were about to face a powerful enemy, so it was necessary to return to their peak state. After spending 10 minutes and a little rest, everyone had completely returned to their peak state and officially stepped into the sleeping hall of the ancient red dragon. This was a huge underground cave. In the middle of the vast lair, there was a huge lava lake. In the scorching magma, there was a dragon that was over 1,000 meters long. The dragon was covered in red scales, and its back was covered with bone spurs. On its head, there were more than a dozen ferocious dragon horns that stood up like spears. The huge horn in the middle of its forehead was broken off from the top. This was the ancient red dragon, the Dragon of Disaster and Destruction. How interesting. I just woke up and breakfast is delivered to me? When everyone entered the sleeping hall and came to the lava lake, the ancient red dragon had already opened its eyes. A pair of huge vertical eyes slowly opened, and flames shone like two suns rising from the ground. Ferocious and ruthless, boundless and violent. An enormous pressure enveloped everyone, as if the sky was collapsing and the earth was caving in. Draconic aura, the extraordinary ability of the ancient red dragon, dragon aura of disaster. This was a type of extraordinary ability similar to divine aura. In the face of the ancient red dragon's dragon aura of disaster, everyone had to face a willpower test at all times. As long as they failed the willpower test once, they would lose their will to fight under the dragon aura of disaster. They would tremble in fear and fall into endless fear. Valiance. Liu flicked his finger on the blade of his sword, and the seal of valiance of the 8 great virtues of holy light was activated. Holy light shone and fell like raindrops, valiant and fearless. Under the blessing of the holy light, everyone's fighting spirit was high, and they were not affected by the dragon aura at all. This was a real battle. Although Liu knew that everyone could resist the dragon aura with mind magic, but since they were here, they couldn't just watch, right? Moreover, this was very pretentious. What kind of power is this? You can actually resist my dragon aura of disaster? The ancient red dragon's eyes narrowed, and it looked at Liu with shock. The dragon aura of disaster was not an ordinary power. It was one of the most powerful powers of the ancient red dragon. It was because of this extraordinary talent that the ancient red dragon had an illustrious reputation comparable to the gods. Even with the blessing of mind magic, they could not completely resist the dragon aura of disaster. At most, they would be left with 80% of their strength. Those who were weaker would even completely lose their battle power. Is the dragon aura of disaster very strong? It's just a trick to scare children. Don't show off your abilities with this little bit of ability. Liu glanced at the ancient red dragon in disdain and hooked his finger. Worm, get over here and accept your death. You're courting death. The ancient red dragon roared furiously, and there was a loud explosion in the lava lake. The hot lava surged like a tide. You're just a worm that's not even a legend. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of the great dragon aura of disaster? Worm, I'll chew you up bit by bit. In the surging lava, the ancient red dragon twisted its huge body, stretched its huge dragon wings, and stood up. Its eyes were like the scorching sun, and there was endless ferocity. Legend? Liu lowered his head and looked at himself. He smiled and shook his head. Sorry, I forgot that I'm not a legend yet. But it doesn't matter, I'll be done soon. Boom! Bright holy light shone from Liu's body. A holy halo shone above his head, and a pair of glorious wings spread out behind his back. A vast, majestic, and holy power suddenly erupted from Liu's body. In the blink of an eye, Liu was promoted to a legend in front of the ancient red dragon's stunned eyes. You said that I'm not a legend, so I'll promote to a legend right away. It's that simple. There are a lot of things to do today, so I can only update twice. Chapter 14:23. Worm, you surprised me. The ancient red dragon was stunned for a moment by Liu's urgency to ascend. However, in the eyes of the ancient red dragon, Liu was just stuck at the juncture of promotion. It was still a normal promotion. So what if he promoted? What was a legend? It was not like the ancient red dragon had never encountered a situation where it was besieged by dozens of legends. The only impression the ancient red dragon had of the dragon slayers it had encountered before was that legends, especially legendary warriors, were very chewy. I woke up from my sleep and happened to be a little hungry. Since the snacks are delivered to my door, I won't be polite. Magma rushed up, and the scorching flames boiled like a sea of fire. Roar! With a deafening dragon roar, the ancient red dragon stretched its neck and raised its head. The red scales between its chest and abdomen suddenly lit up with a scorching light, like a scorching sun. Flames condensed, compressed, condensed. A ball of sun-like light moved up from its chest and abdomen, quickly passing through its neck and reaching its throat. Then, the ancient red dragon opened its huge mouth filled with fangs. In the depths of its throat, an extremely scorching ball of fire was like a condensed sun. It accumulated, condensed, and was about to be spewed out. Destructive Dragon Breath. This was another famous skill of the ancient red dragon. Similar to the dragon aura of calamity, this destructive dragon breath was also a transcendent talent. This was the origin of the name Dragon of Calamity and Destruction. The destructive dragon breath had a rule characteristic similar to divine power. Not only was it high temperature and flames, but it also had a part of the power of the law of destruction. Under this destructive dragon breath, the law of destruction allowed the high temperature and flames of the dragon breath to have precedence on the level of the law. Any resistance would be suppressed by the law and be reduced by a few levels. Defensive knights, go up and activate invincibility. Hold on. In Sauron's tactics, the destructive dragon breath of the ancient red dragon was not spitting saliva. It could not be spat out as many times as it wanted. Let the paladins take turns to activate invincibility and line up in a row like a human wall to withstand the destructive dragon breath. This was Sauron's plan. This tactic was very reasonable and appropriate. However, he wasn't familiar with Liu. He didn't know that this pretentious criminal would often act pretentiously. Spit? It was too disgusting. This is simply intolerable. The pretentious criminal was disgusted when he saw the thick phlegm condensed in the ancient red dragon's throat. He was furious and decided to teach the ancient red dragon how to be hygienic. Do you have any civility? Dazzling holy light shone in Liu's hand. The holy light instantly condensed and turned into a huge golden hammer of holy light. Didn't your mother teach you that children should be hygienic? Don't spit everywhere. With a furious roar, Liu swung the 100-meter-long sacred light hammer in his hand and smashed it down heavily. Boom! Just as the ancient red dragon's breath of destruction was about to be spat out, the huge hammer of holy light swung out heavily and smashed into the ancient red dragon's throat with a loud bang. Roar! With a painful roar, the ancient red dragon's huge body was actually smashed into the air by the hammer. The thick phlegm that was about to be spat out was suddenly smashed back. I hate people like you who spit everywhere the most. You have to be polite, understand? The holy wings suddenly spread out, and Liu's figure whizzed into the air. He raised the huge hammer of holy light in his hand again and smashed it down on the ancient red dragon's head from top to bottom. Boom! Another explosion. The ancient red dragon, who had just been smashed into the air, did not have time to adjust its flying posture before it was smashed down by Liu's hammer. Roar! The ancient red dragon cried out again and fell straight down from the air. With a loud crash, it crashed into the ground. Gravel and dust flew everywhere. Is this the hammer of justice? It's so powerful. Master Victor is too terrifying. Too powerful. Too powerful. The group of legendary masters who were waiting below were all in a daze, as if they had been petrified. What happened to the promised team battle? What happened to the promised battle to the death? Master Victor, you're making us very helpless by doing this. You can fight them alone, so why did you trick us into coming here? Was it just to shout 666 for you? That Master Victor hates spitting everywhere. We must pay attention to this problem and remember it in our hearts at all times. Seeing this unhygienic, ancient red dragon being beaten so badly, the legendary master shuddered. Don't spit everywhere was a taboo that could not be violated, especially the oak elder, this druid. What was the big deal about spitting everywhere for an oak elder who lived in the forest? Even the problem of excretion could be solved anywhere. When we go back, we must tell all the druids about this taboo. They must not spit everywhere, and they must not urinate anywhere. If Master Victor finds out, the consequences will be severe. How severe? Just look at this ancient red dragon that was smashed into a daze. Druids were also civilized people, so they must be hygienic. That was what the oak elder thought. He did not feel that hygienic was different from the natural life that they pursued. What are you looking at? Hit it. Beat this bastard to death. Liu swung his hammer twice and smashed the ancient red dragon until it was dizzy. Suddenly, He felt that the atmosphere behind him was not right, so he hurriedly turned around and called out to everyone. "Oh, okay, okay. The ancient red dragon is too pitiful. I can't bear to do it. Sigh, since we're here, we should do something. Why do I suddenly feel that the ancient red dragon is so pitiful? I feel like we're bullying it. Shut up. This is justice against evil. Justice will win." The group of legendary masters raised their weapons and charged towards the ancient red dragon with extremely complicated feelings. Roar, roar. After taking 2 hits from the hammer, the ancient red dragon was almost beaten into a retard. Even with its godlike strength, it could not withstand someone's cheating. At this moment, it was still in a dizzy state and had not recovered yet. It was besieged by a group of legendary masters. It was like a little bottom that was being violently ravaged. It did not have any of the elegance of the dragon of disaster and destruction. I knew it. I knew it. Seeing this, Sauron was completely speechless, gathering helpers everywhere, collecting all kinds of information, comprehending the holy light, and going through a few months of virtual training. It turned out that it was all a scam. There was no need for others to intervene. You could beat the ancient red dragon down with one hand. Playing so much just for fun? Brother, can't you just play the game properly? Can't you give me an environment to clear instance dungeons? Chapter 14:24. This is a joke. The incomparably powerful ancient red dragon had fallen in front of them, just like that. The group of legendary powerhouses present had yet to come back to their senses. Every legendary master harbored the belief of fighting to the death in the battle of justice to save the world, and some were even prepared to sacrifice themselves. But the current situation made them speechless. The promised fight to the death had actually become beat the dog while it's down. The contrast was too great, and they could not keep up with the rhythm. Liu looked at everyone with some embarrassment, coughed dryly, and started to bluff again. I didn't expect that at the critical moment of fighting against evil, my understanding of the holy light would deepen. I broke through the realm all of a sudden, and my strength increased too much. I couldn't control it as I wished, so I was a little heavy-handed. In order to not let the group of legendary masters feel that he was too useless, Liu had to explain a little. Was bluffing these legendary masters really just to fight against the ancient red dragon? Liu's goal was never the ancient red dragon. This was just a cover to bluff people. What was Liu's purpose in coming to this world? Studying how to deify chaos, and reaching the 3rd step of chaos as soon as possible was Liu's fundamental purpose. The method to deify chaos was to apatheicize. Liu did this not to save the world, but to apatheicize. The legendary masters present had all become users of the holy light, which was equivalent to becoming believers of the holy light. In addition to this glorious victory, the greatness of the holy light would definitely spread to all countries. At this point, Liu's foundation for apatheicizing was already solid. As for the attack just now, it was not only to show off, but also to form an invincible impression in the hearts of these legendary masters, so that they would revere him. Revere was the foundation of faith. Faith in the gods was never out of gratitude, but out of reverence. Accidentally increased my strength too much? Hearing Liu's explanation, the legendary masters were speechless for a long time. I also want to accidentally increase my strength too much. You're just showing off. He must be showing off, right? Lord Victor, as expected of an emissary of the holy light, as expected of a teacher of the holy light. His power is simply too great. Previously, when Liu was not yet a legend, everyone respected him but did not fear him. Now that they had seen Liu smash the ancient red dragon with 2 hammers, everyone felt a sense of awe towards Liu. At this moment, everyone looked at Liu with eyes filled with respect and deep fear. This was in line with Liu's goal. No matter what, we have won. Liu chuckled. There was no need to explain how awesome the life of a cheat was. The enemy had been defeated. As for the details, there was no need to care about them. We defeated the ancient red dragon and saved the southern countries. This was a glorious victory. Now, it's time for us to reap our spoils of war. Give a carrot after a stick. Under the carrot and stick, Liu became even more majestic and great in the eyes of this group of legendary masters. Other than Victor's father, Count Antares, everyone else had already obtained their spoils. Wow, what amazing wealth! Everyone found the ancient red dragon's treasure vault behind the sleeping hall. The moment the treasure vault was opened, even the group of legendary masters who had been in high positions for a long time were stunned by the dazzling array of treasures in the treasure vault. In the huge treasure vault, the gold coins and gems piled up like mountains were considered ordinary wealth. The real treasures were the weapons and equipment that were shining with spiritual light. The power of the mountains. That's the power of the mountains. The legendary monk looked at a pair of black boxing gloves and stared blankly. Secret needle, the great creation of the arcane era. The legendary great divine object that can see through the river of time. The northern witch looked at a pocket watch and screamed, "Oh my God, that's the spear of thunder, the legendary weapon left behind by our Amazons." The legendary Amazon roared excitedly. There were even more equipment: shields, heavy hammers, giant axes, long swords, daggers, and even sets of armor and various accessories. At a glance, there were more than 100 legendary weapons and equipment. Each person would have more than 2 pieces. No wonder there were no drops after clearing the disaster's nest. It's all here. Soren sighed secretly. As the leader, he could no longer steal equipment. After all, reality was different from the game. It was impossible to loot corpses for equipment. However, Soren was not the least bit depressed. His freeloading EXP plan was perfectly realized. After clearing all the monsters in the disaster's nest, he was the only player present, so all the EXP went to him. At this moment, in Soren's game interface, the EXP pool had accumulated nearly 2 million EXP. This much EXP was enough for him to level up from level 12 to level 20. From level 20 to level 21, there was a checkpoint. That was legendary. Only by breaking through this checkpoint could he continue to gain EXP and level up. In order to reach legendary, some of Soren's basic skills had not been trained to a sufficient level and did not meet the promotion requirements. In the future, he would have to spend a lot of time training his skills. Of course, this was a blessing in disguise. Everyone, for these legendary equipment, each person can choose 2 that are suitable. If several people are interested in the same equipment at the same time, they will be distributed by rolling the dice. The weapons, equipment, gold coins, and gems in the ancient Red Dragon's treasure vault were the accumulation of its entire life. It was the spoils of war that came from countless robberies and defeating enemies. Legendary equipment was worthless to Liu. However, those gold coins and gems would be very useful to the Church of Holy Light in the future. Coincidentally, legendary masters were all big shots and did not have much need for money. Legendary equipment was what they were interested in. "Gloria, help me collect these gold coins and gems." Liu waved his hand and collected the mountain of gold coins and gems. He put them into a portal bag and handed it to Gloria. Gloria was the Pope of the Church of Holy Light that Liu had decided on. In her hands, these items would be of great use in the future development of the church. Everyone, in addition to these legendary equipment, the ancient red dragon itself is also a spoil of war. Dragon horns, dragon teeth, dragon scales, dragon skin, dragon bones, dragon blood, dragon tendons, the entire body of the ancient red dragon was a treasure. There was really nothing that could be wasted. Even the dragon penis. Many people were interested. After spending half a day under the professional skinning skill of the legendary Amazon, the huge ancient red dragon was completely dissected. Even the dragon meat and internal organs were used by the legendary Amazon's cooking skill. Under the flames of the lava lake, a huge grill was set up and the dragon was roasted into dried dragon meat. Let us mourn for the ancient red dragon for 3 seconds. Chapter 1425. This was a great victory. This was a glorious victory. Holy Light Envoy. His Highness Victor led a group of legends to attack the disaster nest, slay the immemorial Red Dragon, and save the southern countries. Good triumphed over evil. The southern countries avoided the fate of becoming a sea of fire. This was the salvation bestowed upon the land by the Holy Light. Holy Light, His Highness Victor gave a slight hint, and the kings and nobles of the southern countries instantly understood and did their best to promote this great victory. Praise the Holy Light. Praise the Holy Light, His Highness Victor. Praise the heroic dragon-slaying warrior. Cheers were everywhere. Every human territory in the southern continent was singing about this victory of justice. The greatness and holiness of the Holy Light was deeply ingrained in everyone's hearts. The foundation has been established. Now it's time to become a god. Liu looked up at the sky and frowned slightly. Why aren't you falling down yet? If you don't fall down, I won't be able to directly go into your divine kingdoms to catch you. The gods were still doing their best to maintain their divine kingdoms that were on the verge of collapse. Because Liu had spread the holy light to all the churches, the gods were able to save the divine power needed to maintain their priests' divine arts. This seemed to have slightly increased the amount of time these gods could survive. All right, since I'm going to fall down sooner or later, 1 or 2 more days won't matter. Even if the gods were able to save the divine power needed to maintain their priests' divine arts, they wouldn't be able to last much longer. They would fall down eventually. Although, this meant that Liu's plan of catching a few gods for research had to be delayed, it wouldn't affect the overall situation. I can't rashly ascend to God before I catch a god and thoroughly research them. I don't dare to rashly absorb the chaotic power of faith into my divine soul before I figure out how the believer's faith can corrode my mind, even if I'm only a divine clone. His divine soul had to be pure. Otherwise, it would shake his foundation and affect the integrity of his self. Then let's wait for a while. This was related to the cultivation of the 3rd step of chaos. He couldn't be too hasty. The foundation of the holy light in the mortal plane had already been established, so it was necessary to wait for a while. But I can't just sit around doing nothing. Liu had already made a plan. The god of holy light was only one part of his plan. The holy light represented order and light. According to Liu's plan, he still needed the power of chaos and darkness. Light and order, darkness and chaos, blended with each other and fused into one, thus deifying chaos. This was Liu's first attempt in this world, an attempt to deify chaos. So, I'm going to start thinking about the bottomless abyss now. The demons of the bottomless abyss represented the chaos and evil of the entire multiverse, which was very suitable for Liu's plan. The devils, who were creatures of lawful evil, were not suitable. Now, I need to create a demon avatar in the abyss. Liu reached out and grabbed, and a dragon's soul appeared in his hand. This was the soul of the ancient Red Dragon, the dragon of disaster and destruction. Souls from all over the multiverse, other than the souls that have been brought back to their divine kingdoms by the gods, there are also many souls that have fallen into the endless abyss. Under the cleansing of the water of the Styx, they turned into abyssal worms on the banks of the Styx. These abyssal worms are the initial form of the demons. Liu looked at the dragon soul in his hand and smiled. I wonder if a dragon soul will turn into an abyssal worm or an abyssal dragon when it falls into the abyss. The abyss represented the chaos and evil of the entire multiverse. Liu wanted to manifest a god of darkness and chaos, and entering the bottomless abyss was also a shortcut. Then, what's the name of the new avatar? Wings of Death, Nesario, or Dark Dragon Ajuin? Or perhaps Ajuin Nesario? With a wave of his hand, the dragon soul in his hand was instantly stored in the resource vault and transferred to the main body. With Victor's current strength, it was not enough to silently send a soul into the bottomless abyss without attracting any attention. Naturally, he could only use the power of the main body. Unlike occupying the avatar Victor, the souls in the bottomless abyss were marked with a mark of chaotic evil, so you could not let his soul be truly contaminated by the abyss. Of course, The abyss had no way of contaminating Liyu's soul. Therefore, once Liyu's avatar entered the bottomless abyss, it would immediately cause the laws of the abyss to vibrate and produce an intense resistance. This would not be in line with the intention of infiltrating. The soul of the ancient red dragon was a perfect substitute. Firstly, it was not Liyu's own soul, so it was not a pity that it was contaminated by the chaotic and evil force of the abyss. Secondly, the quality of this soul was very high, its foundation was not bad, and it had great potential for development. As long as the memories of the ancient red dragon soul were washed clean, it would be very easy to create a fictional Liyu. System: reconstruct the ancient red dragon's soul and record my own memories into the dragon's soul. In the blink of an eye, Liyu had created a soul of himself. Himself, in the form of a dragon's soul. I have my own memories, and I've added a true spirit imprint to this soul. In a sense, this soul can be considered as mine. The essence of a soul was very different, so it was very convenient to retrieve and fuse them. Moreover, it did not have any independent self, so it was very suitable to be placed in the abyss to be contaminated by chaos and evil. The true spirit imprint is not a soul, so it will not cause the laws of the abyss to interfere, but can keep the soul awake and not be controlled by chaos and evil. Very good, let's do that. A stream of light flashed, crossing the void and falling into the bottomless abyss. The bottomless abyss was the representation of chaos and evil in the entire multiverse. Every inch of land and every wisp of aura in this place was filled with endless evil. The structure of the bottomless abyss was similar to a book. Every page represented a level in the bottomless abyss. He didn't know how many pages this book had. This was also the origin of the word endless in the bottomless abyss. On a certain level of the bottomless abyss, the wind of recovery blew on the Nether River. In the vast Nether River, the murky water roiled, and countless souls bobbed up and down in the waves. When this wind of recovery blew across the surface of the water, souls floated up from the waves and were blown to the shore of the Nether River. Rumble. A blood-colored cloud condensed in midair, and a rain of blood fell from the sky. The wind of recovery swept up the souls and dashed into the rain of blood in the sky. For a time, the wind and rain were dark. The souls floating in the wind merged with the raindrops in the rain of blood and fell to the shore of the Nether River, turning into blood cocoons. Countless evil lives were born in the blood cocoons. Among them was an unusual dragon soul. Bang! One day, among the blood cocoons on the shore of the Nether River, a cocoon larger than the others, with black runes flowing on its shell, suddenly exploded. A strange abyss worm, about 2 meters long with horns on its head and a pair of dragon wings on its back, darted out of the cocoon. My name is Audiobook. Under my wings, all things turn to ashes. Big Bostly had officially unleashed 2 powers. This was a suffocating operation. Chapter 1426. Slaughter was the eternal theme of the Abyss. Every Abyss demon, from the time they were still abyssal worms, slaughter was ingrained in their instincts. On the shore of the Nether River, blood-colored cocoons broke out one after another. Abyssal worms rushed out of the blood cocoons, killing and devouring each other. To evolve and grow, one must go through slaughter and devouring. Even if it's me, I can't avoid it. Audiobook spread his dragon wings and rushed into the air. Even if he wanted to devour, as a clone created by Big Bostly, what Audiobook wanted to devour was not those abyssal worms. Abyssal worms that had just come out of their eggshells were delicious food for abyssal demons. Every time the wind of recovery blew on the shore of the Nether River, it was a rare feast for inferior demons. Imps, commonly known as imps. They were the lowest demons whose status was only slightly higher than abyssal worms. Usually, imps were the slaves and food of other demons. Only during the season, when abyssal worms were born, would the imps enjoy a feast. Oh, oh, oh! Groups of imps screamed crazily and rushed to the shore of the Nether River like a tide, crazily devouring the abyssal worms on the ground. Demons were chaotic and evil. So, at this moment, the shore of the Nether River was in chaos. Not only were imps devouring abyssal worms, but abyssal worms were killing and devouring each other. Imps were also fighting and killing each other. The smell of blood filled the air. Oh, oh! An imp suddenly saw Audiobook flying in the air and was very puzzled by this strange abyssal worm. But, with the imp's intelligence, it could only tell that this thing is edible. So, the imp screamed and shot a flame arrow at Audiobook, who was flying in the air. Damn! You actually want to eat me? Audiobook was still struggling with how to bite a pygmy monster like the imp, but when he saw the imp attack, he could not continue to struggle. Courting death, Audiobook spread his wings and dodged the imp's flame arrow. His figure flashed and swooped down like an eagle pouncing on its prey. The sharp horn on the top of its head emitted a cold light and stabbed into the imp's chest, creating a huge hole. The power of demons originates from a heart. His white fangs flashed with a cold light as he swallowed the little demon's heart in one gulp. Boom! A flow of heat that was as hot as magma suddenly exploded in Audiobook's stomach, and a blazing flame rushed up. Ew! Amidst the crazed roars, Audiobook's body instantly grew in size. His chest and abdomen became thicker, and scales began to appear on his body. His abdomen had already grown the embryonic form of 4 claws. At this moment, Audiobook's appearance was close to that of a baby dragon. I wonder how the abyssal dragons grow. If it was a surface dragon, a young dragon born from a dragon egg would definitely not need to go through the form of an abyssal worm. Forget it. Filling our stomachs is more important. In the abyss, being weak was the greatest sin. Weak creatures didn't even have their own lives. Big Bossly had sent a clone here. If it died here, it would be too funny. Kill. After devouring an imp's heart, Audiobook's strength had grown a lot, and it was much easier for him to kill imps. Slaughter. Devour. Endless slaughter. Endless devouring. Until Audiobook roared. Within a radius of 10 miles, all the imps and abyssal worms were so scared that they crawled on the ground, trembling. The current Audiobook was already more than 10 meters long, and his wingspan was more than 5 meters. He was completely in his dragon form. In front of the imps, he was already a huge monster. My name is Audiobook. Lowly worms, die or submit. Audiobook spread his wings, and his body was covered in black flames. He was extremely ferocious. Submit. Submit. Greetings, Lord Audiobook. Surrender and betrayal were as simple as drinking water to the imps. There was no order in the abyss, but the strong were respected. This was an order that could be applied everywhere. Under Audiobook's threat, the imps surrendered without any hesitation. Of course, once they found an opportunity, these imps would immediately betray without hesitation. Where's the nearest territory? Whose territory is it? Slaughter and war happened all the time in the abyss. If Audiobook wanted to grow quickly, killing monsters was the only way. This was also the law of the abyss. The imp's power came from the heart. Devouring was the fastest way to grow. In front, after crossing a mountain, it will be Lord Fei Yi's territory. Lord Fei Yi is a powerful winged demon. Among these imps who surrendered, many of them came from the territory of this Lord Fei Yi. After surrendering, the imps sold out their original master without hesitation. Winged demon? That's passable. The winged demon was only 1 level higher than the imps. With Audiobook's current power, he was much stronger than the average winged demon. Getting rid of the so-called Lord Fei Yi would not be difficult. Lead the way. Audiobook roared as he led a group of little demons towards the territory of Lord Soaring Wings in a grandiose manner. This is Lord Fei Yi's territory? When Liu brought a group of imps over a mountain range that was spewing lava and filled with a strong smell of sulfur, the so-called Lord Fei Yi's territory was right in front of them. It was a cliff. The towering cliffs were filled with caves. At a glance, there were at least a few hundred caves. A few hundred caves? Audiobook was shocked and quickly turned to look at the imps behind him. Is this Lord Fei you are talking about? Who? They are all Lord Fei. The imps did not seem to understand Ajuin's words. Their red eyes filled with doubt. All right, Ajuin sighed. The Lord Fei that the imps mentioned was not just one winged demon, but a group of them. Originally, he wanted to pinch a soft persimmon, but he did not expect to encounter a tough battle. The winged demon's strongest point was mobility. If he fought with a group of winged demons in the air, he would definitely be besieged by them. Even if he won, he would have to pay a price. Kill. Ajuin immediately thought of a countermeasure. Since this group of winged demons had not come out of the cave, it was the perfect time to charge in and fight in close combat. The close combat ability of a giant dragon was extraordinarily strong. Casually finding the nearest cave, Ajuin spread his wings and charged in. Who is it? A winged demon lying in the cave heard the commotion and was about to shout. Suddenly, his vision turned black as a black figure pounced over. The sharp claws grabbed the winged demon's body, and the huge mouth with dense fangs bit down on the winged demon's neck. Crack! Blood splattered and the winged demon died instantly. Another massacre was about to begin. Chapter 1427. Wings of Death. Dark Dragon. A month later, Ajuin had killed countless people and fought for thousands of miles. Because of his special hobby of only eating hearts, none of his enemies survived. This allowed him to become known as the Wings of Death and the Dark Dragon. Ajuin stood on top of a dilapidated rock fortress. His tyrannical dragon body was already 100 meters long. His body was covered in black scales like black crystals. He had ferocious horns and huge dragon wings. His entire body flickered with black flames. A month of killing and devouring had allowed Ajuin to grow continuously. At this moment, Ajuin was equivalent to a young dragon in the main plane. It's time to officially take up the profession. At this point, Ajuin had only relied on the natural instincts of a dragon. He had not started an official profession yet. Dragons had a tyrannical body and were born with the ability to cast spells. They were equivalent to the professions of warriors and warlocks. However, the profession that Ajuin wanted to take up was not one of this world. Shadow and flame, blood and soul. With the power of Wings of Death Etherio and Dark Dragon Ajuin, the profession that I want to take up is suitable for warlocks of Azeroth. Holy light to the left, warlocks to the right. The power of darkness and chaos corresponded to the power of light and order. Then, let's start the warlock profession. Warlocks who enslaved demons were not suitable for the abyss. Ajuin's mind moved and touched the true soul imprint in his soul. Liyu's body immediately responded. A dark and chaotic power was transmitted through the true soul imprint. Boom! Shadow and flame intertwined. Black flames rushed into the sky. Pain, suffering. My anger burns in the abyss. The world trembles because of me. Under my wings, all things turn to ashes. The overwhelming black flames covered the entire sky. A huge roar shook the world. At this moment, the abyss shook in the black flames and trembled in the roar. It was as if the laws of the abyss were resonating with Ajuin's roar. Lord? Abyss Lord? How is this possible? In the distance, beside a huge lava lake, in a towering black iron castle, a Baylor was roaring furiously while holding a two-handed flaming greatsword. This is a Lord of the Abyss? No. Wasn't it the coronation? All I did was obtain the right to be a lord. In a crimson castle, an extremely beautiful succubus lay on a pink bed and lazily raised her head. Ha! The right to be a lord? How interesting. In the entire lava wilderness, this was the fourth demon that had obtained the qualifications to become an overlord, right? The balance has been broken. The succubus waved her finger that was painted with cardamom nail polish, chuckled, and lay down on the bed again. Find him. Find a challenger. A fear demon with a pair of giant horns on its head and a pair of bat wings on its back raised its battle axe and roared. The qualifications of an abyssal lord. The moment Ajuin resonated with the abyssal laws, he understood what the so-called abyssal lord qualification meant. The abyssal laws were the amalgamation of chaos and evil in the entire multiverse. Slaughter and destruction were the best embodiment of this chaotic and evil force. The appearance of multiple lords of the abyss in a single level of the abyss meant that these abyss devils who had obtained the qualifications to become lords of the abyss were constantly fighting and killing one another. This is also in line with my plan. Then, let's have a good fight. Ajuin's body burst into black flames, and his entire body underwent a drastic change from a dragon to a human form. This was the dragon's ultimate shape-shifting, which allowed the dragon to transform into the form of other intelligent creatures. Ajuin was Li Yu's clone, so his aesthetic was naturally no different from Li Yu's. Although the dragon form was strong, it was not beautiful at all. How could a man who was destined to become a god not have a perfect form? After becoming an Azeroth warlock and obtaining the abyssal laws, Ajuin's strength had increased tremendously, and he could already use the ultimate shape-shifting. Not bad. This form is more pleasing to the eye. Ajuin moved his limbs and felt that this human form was easier to use. Lord Ajuin? You. Under the dilapidated fortress, a group of demons looked up at Ajuin, who was standing at the top of the fortress, with faces full of shock. Lord Ajuin's appearance was clearly human, right? In the eyes of demons, humans were food. Why did Lord Ajuin become like this? Clean up the fortress and collect the spoils. We'll continue the attack tomorrow. Ajuin instructed, and with a flash of his body, he landed in the dilapidated fortress, no longer caring about the chaotic demons outside. This dilapidated fortress was the territory of a Hezru. After Ajuin killed the Hezru, he took over the dilapidated fortress and used it as a temporary place to stay. In the main plane, I'm now a level 14 warlock and can be considered a high-level professional. However, my strength is still too far away. To become an abyssal lord, one had to be at least a legendary. The other 3 abyssal lords were probably already in the legendary realm. With Ajuin's current strength, he could not face any of the abyssal lords head-on. Leveling up is the way to go. For Ajuin to level up, other than killing demons and devouring their hearts, to let the abyssal demon dragon continue to grow, he could also level up through his warlock profession by killing monsters. This could be considered as the coexistence of 2 growth paths. Since I'm in human form, I can use equipment. The dragon form was not suitable for weapons, but the human form was very convenient. Ajuin stepped into the dilapidated fortress and walked into the room of the fortress's original owner. After the death of the Hezru, Ajuin obtained a 20-meter-long hammer covered in spikes from its body. Although the forging was very crude, it was simply unsightly. However, the material of this hammer was abyss magic iron, and its quality was not bad. I'll refine it and use it as a weapon. With a wave of his hand, the huge abyss magic iron hammer disappeared. Through the true soul imprint, it was stored in the system's resource vault. Decompose, refine, and reshape. A 1.8-meter-long two-handed axe appeared in Ajuin's hands. The pitch-black axe blade emitted a cold light, and a strange rune was engraved on the surface of the axe, as if it represented the dark force of the entire multiverse. Axe of Extinction, Ajuin's Dark Judgment. This was the name of the axe. The newly forged Axe of Extinction was already a legendary weapon, and it had the potential to become a divine weapon. It was not inferior to the cloud-severing sword in Victor's hands. Since I'm in human form, I have to wear clothes. There was still a lot of the ancient red dragon skin left, and after refining it in the resource vault, a set of black robes appeared in front of Ajuin. With this set of equipment, my strength has increased by a lot. I can continue to fight. Chapter 1428. I'm a warlock. I'm actually using an axe to play berserker? Ajuin laughed and shook his head. Like in close combat, is this an instinct of the dragon's soul? Being a warlock in Azeroth was just an enhancement for Ajuin, there would be no restrictions. It was impossible for him to not be able to use a two-handed axe or play close combat. With such a strong body, it's a waste to only use spells. Might as well adjust it, it's cheating anyway. Let's add a warrior class to the warlock class in Azeroth. Reconnecting with a true soul imprint and combining the warrior and warlock models, Ajuin became an enhanced version of Demon Hunter. A Demon Hunter model with both warlock skills and warrior skills. This was obviously cheating. If it weren't for the fact that the Death Knight class could only be taken by the dead, I would actually prefer the Death Knight model. However, this dual-class version of the Demon Hunter was already shameless enough. He couldn't go too far, right? Bang! Bang! Ouch! At this time, outside the broken castle, the group of demon subordinates that Ajuin had subdued had already started fighting. Damn it! This is the flaw of a chaotic lineup. Discipline doesn't exist at all. Ajuin sighed helplessly and walked out of the broken castle with his axe. Stop! He swung his axe fiercely and killed until blood flowed like a river. Finally, the chaos was suppressed. All of you stand still. Whoever moves will die. Shaking off the blood on his axe, Ajuin stared coldly at the demons under his command. At this moment, Ajuin's team was not small. All in all, there were more than 100,000 demons. More than half of them were imps. The rest were winged demons, dretches, chained demons, spider demons, and a small number of succubi. They were all lower demons, and there were only 100 middle demons and succubi. This strength, they were all cannon fodder. My team has just started. I can't ask for too much. Ajuin shook his head speechlessly. But it seems like I can use something similar to Holy Light. The power of a god came from faith. In the entire multiverse, there had never been a god that could only make demons believe in him. With a demon's chaotic soul, what was faith? Can it be eaten? I wonder if I can create a group of demon worshippers. Anyway, the purpose of coming to this world was to do experiments. Studying the souls of demons and making them produce faith is also a topic worth researching. Li Yu's doppelganger and his original body were one. Both Li Yu's original body and Victor received Ajuin's thoughts at the same time. At this moment, Li Yu's main body became interested. Victor, the Holy Light envoy, almost laughed out loud. All right, it's just an experiment anyway. Whether it succeeds or not is one thing. Let's try it out first. Li expressed that he might be soft-hearted when cheating others, but cheating demons, he didn't feel any pressure at all. Let's give it a try. Raising his axe, Ajuin carved a huge rune magic circle on the square outside the broken fortress. The little devil over here, come over and stand on the array. With a wave of his axe, Ajuin selected more than 1,000 imps and drove them into the array. Little devils are everywhere. Even if the experiment fails, it won't be a pity even if they die. Ajuin waved his hand, and a stream of magic entered the array. The array trembled and a huge amount of dark energy flowed in the array, enveloping all the imps who stood in the array. This was an enslavement array. A demon warlock's array to enslave demons. Li Yu modified the formation a little. On the basis of the formation's enslavement, he added a trust element. Big Boss Li, who had played with the loyalty mark countless times, after studying the power of faith of the Holy Light and combining it with the power of Buddhism's conversion, he upgraded the loyalty mark again and turned it into the trust mark. Put down the butcher's knife. Sakako, my lord. Worship. Faith. There is only God in their hearts, nothing else. The moment the dark radiance shrouded the array, all the imps in the array screamed in unison. Painful wails, heart-wrenching screams. Then, with a bang, all the imps in the array exploded. Blood, bones, and flesh splattered everywhere like raindrops. Did it fail? What's the reason? The trust mark was clearly applied. Why did it explode? This result was very normal. Wasn't it normal for an experiment to fail? Anyway, there were many experimental materials. He could just continue the research. All of you, stand up there. Ajuin waved his hand again and pointed at a group of imps. Sir, please spare us. Please spare us. The group of little demons that were pointed at by Audiobook shrieked in fright and knelt on the ground, kowtowing and begging for mercy. "If you don't go, die." With a wave of his hand, a shadow arrow rain whizzed out. The densely packed shadow arrows covered the group of imps who were kowtowing and begging for mercy like raindrops. A round of shadow arrow rain turned thousands of imps into minced meat. "All of you, stand up there." Audiobook pointed at a group of imps and roared loudly. "If you go, you'll die. If you don't go, you'll die. Run." Thousands of imps screamed and fled pathetically. "You dare to run? Go to hell." Audiobook waved his hand, and black flames surged all over his body. A pair of pitch-black dragon wings swept up black flames and flapped at the fleeing imps. "Under my wings, all things turned to ashes." The black flames swept out and burned thousands of imps who were running away into ashes. "All of you, stand up there." Black flames swirled, and Audiobook pointed at the next group of imps. "If you go, you'll die. If you don't go, you'll die. If you run, you'll die even more." In the end, the imps could only submit and stand obediently in the array. The enslavement array was activated again, and the trust mark was imprinted on the imps' souls. Another blood-curdling scream rang out, and another explosion rang out. However, this time, there were still a few imps who were not dead. So it's like this. Their souls aren't strong enough. These imps are useless and don't even have the right to be imprinted. The fusion of thousands of imps' souls only produced less than 10 imps. However, Audiobook was very satisfied. The experiment was a success. The remaining few little demons were completely different. The remaining imps had not only become Audiobook's believers, but their strength had also skyrocketed. They had become almost 2 meters tall, muscular, with 2 horns on their heads and sharp claws and fangs. Giant imps. It said that every demon form has the possibility of growing to the extreme. For example, the succubus queen grew into a demon lord in her succubus form. These imps are in such a situation. Compared to the previous imps, the current giant imps were on a completely different level. They were already very valuable. Not only could they strengthen the imps, but they could also imprint the trust mark and turn the imps into believers. Then, the experiment continued. Chapter 1429. There are only 500 little demons left. After driving all the little demons into the enslavement array, 50,000 went in and 500 came out. 500 little demons that were more than 2 meters tall and as strong as barbarians were quite satisfactory. These little demons are already considered elite models, right? They can't be considered ordinary cannon fodder. From their aura, these little demons were almost at the level of middle-level demons. Even in the hands of the demon lords, they could be considered cannon fodder. Although 100 little demons can only be combined into one elite little demon, but there are as many little demons as you want. Audiobook felt that this elite version of the little demons was worth promoting. Other than the little demons, all the other demons need to be transformed. Next, Audiobook drove the winged demons, dretch demons, chained demons, and even succubi into the enslavement array. After a round of transformation, the demons, from their bodies to their souls, underwent a huge change. The quantity was greatly reduced, and the quality was improved. When the succubi that stepped into the enslavement array were also transformed, there were less than 2,000 demons left in Audiobook's demon army. The higher the demon's level, the stronger the soul. After transformation, the loss of quantity will be reduced. After the succubi were imprinted with the mark of Chong-Xian, the number of succubi was only reduced by half. Compared to the little demons that could only be combined into one, the success rate was much higher. The soul strength of 2 succubi is enough to complete the transformation of believers. Very good. There are not many things in the abyss, but demons are simply endless. Conquering the abyss and turning all the demons into believers of the Lord of Darkness, Audiobook. How meaningful was this? My Lord Audiobook, you are the origin of darkness. You are the embodiment of death. you are the master of all demons. Praise the Lord. Praise the great Audiobook. Nearly 2,000 demons that were transformed knelt in front of Audiobook with a devout face, constantly kowtowing and praying. This scene was very strange. One by one, evil demons worshipped with a devout face, holy and evil at the same time. The sense of incongruity was simply indescribable. They can really produce the power of faith. The dark runes on the giant axe in his hand shone slightly. He actually received a lot of faith from these 2,000 demons. These demon believers are all fanatics? Fanatics were equivalent to terrorists. It wasn't surprising at all that a demon believer had turned into a fanatic. In any case, Liu was not here to contribute to world peace. Fanatics were one of the most devout believers. For Liu, it was naturally very suitable. Audiobook smiled and nodded. Liu's original body glanced at him and ignored him. Victor was speechless for a long time. The holy light had been tossing and turning for so long, but there weren't many devout believers. With Audiobook's fooling around, he gained 2,000 fanatics all of a sudden. The price-performance ratio was simply incomparable. Such a brutal preaching method is not befitting of the holy light's identity. Although Victor was envious, he could only give up helplessly. The holy light was too sacred, and it was too restrictive when doing things. Evil gods were more convenient and could do whatever they wanted. Finally, we've managed to pull out a decent team. Audiobook waved his hand and wiped out the enslavement circle on the ground. He lifted his giant axe and pointed to the north. Conquer. Slaughter. His next target was Lava Castle. Let's go. Kill. 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 2,000 demon worshippers roared and rushed out in the direction that Audiobook had pointed out. All right, no matter how much you modify them, demons are still chaotic creatures. Don't count on things like discipline. Even after becoming a believer, the chaotic and evil nature of demons did not change. The only change was that in front of Audiobook, they were all extremely devout fanatics. Audiobook shrugged his shoulders, lifted his axe, and followed. Lava Castle was the territory of a fire Baler. In the endless abyss, Balers were a race at the top of the pyramid. According to the evolution path of demons, Balers were high-level demons and were the peak of demon evolution. Every Baler had a creature level of level 20. In other words, the strength of a Baler could grow to the equivalent of a level 20 professional. This was only a creature's characteristics and did not take into account the professional level. Balers could also become professionals and increase their professional level. The Baler in Lava Castle belongs to the same race as the Lava Duke, Jinutu. Its strength is only equivalent to a level 18 professional. It's just right to start with him, although doing so would definitely infuriate the Duke of Lava. But Audiobook was in the territory of the Lava Duke. If they didn't harm him, who else could they harm? It doesn't matter whose territory it is. Who told you to be so unlucky? Audiobook sneered. Black flames rushed out from behind him, and a pair of dragon wings appeared on his back. Spreading his dragon wings, Audiobook soared into the sky and whizzed in the direction of Lava Castle. Lava Castle. This was a demon castle in the crater of a volcano. The gigantic volcano stood tall. Thick smoke, raging flames, ashes, and sulfur made the entire sky scorching hot and dark. In the crater of the volcano, there was boiling hot magma in the middle. It was surrounded by dark red cliffs around the crater of the volcano. On the Crimson Cliff, there were wide roads carved out of it, and countless buildings were built on them. This was Lava Castle, the territory of the Baler, the Slayer Daimyosen. Demons had no such thing as family. As a member of the same race as the Lava Duke, Daimyosen's only advantage was that he successfully lived to adulthood. Then, he was slapped away by the Lava Duke and chased out. He landed in this remote and harsh place, occupied the crater of a volcano, built a castle, and ruled over a group of demons. It could be said that he had started a family business. But someone actually dared to have designs on his territory. Slayer Daimyosen, A figure covered in black flames and with a pair of dragon wings on his back held a giant axe. He pointed at Daimon and coldly roared, "Submit or die." Worm, you're courting death. The Baylor was not an ordinary demon. It was a high-level demon. A race that stood at the top of the pyramid of the abyss was naturally not good-tempered. Of course, demons were not good-tempered either. Boom! Flames surged into the sky as the Baylor's body erupted with endless flames. Streams of magma swirled around the Baylor demon. Howl in the flames. Worm! The Baylor raised a flaming executioner's sword high in the air and viciously slashed down at Audiobook. With a slash of the sword, flames filled the sky. The boiling magma in the crater of the volcano violently erupted under this slash. The mighty magma was like a surging river as it swept towards Audiobook. Chapter 1430. As expected of a flame Baylor. Truly extraordinary. Audiobook looked at the raging flames that blotted out the sky and the lava that swept in all directions and sighed inwardly. Then, Audiobook turned and ran. In terms of strength, if Audiobook didn't use cheats, he would be a bit weaker than this Slayer Daimon. In terms of creature level, Audiobook's dragon physique was stronger than the flame Baylor physique. But Audiobook's profession model had just been activated and hadn't leveled up yet. Slayer Daimon's profession level was at least level 18, much higher than Audiobook. Of course, this wasn't the reason why Audiobook ran. Who was Audiobook? Lita Lee's clone. What was Lita Lee good at? Yes, it was cheating people, fighting to the death, and then using cheats to counterattack. This wasn't Lita Lee's style. Wanna run? Bug, you can't run. Seeing Audiobook run after acting cool, Daimon was furious. More than that, monstrous flames rushed up like a volcano erupting into the sky. Burning clouds of fire engulfed heaven and earth. Daimon rode on endless flames and raised his sword. He roared towards the sky and chased after Audiobook. There were at least a few 100,000 evil demons in the lava castle. How many followers did Audiobook have? Less than 2,000. Even if 3,000 troops sweep the world, Audiobook didn't even have 3,000 subordinates. The difference in power was so big. Wasn't attacking a city just courting death? Evil demons had a chaotic nature and didn't care about loyalty. As long as Daimon was killed, subduing the evil demons in the lava castle would be effortless. In that case, what was the point of attacking a city? Wasn't it more worthwhile to lure Daimon out and kill him? Bug, you offended the Slayer. Only death awaits you. Daimon rode on monstrous flames and chased after him. Audiobook fled at high speed. Then, he stopped at the edge of a cliff. Evil demons rushed out from behind the cliff. There were nearly 2,000 evil demons in total. Oh, this is your scheme? 2,000 evil demons? Bug, you are really naive. I will let you know how strong the Slayer is. Seeing the 2,000 evil demons rushing out from behind the cliff, Daimon was a little surprised. These 2,000 demons had all evolved to the extreme and had the talent to become high-level demons. However, the strongest were only a group of succubi, and the rest were low-ranked demons. Even if he had evolved to the extreme, he could still kill him with a single slash. Daimon sneered and raised the giant beheading sword. Raging flames condensed on the beheading sword, and the superior demon's intimidating aura instantly erupted. This was a level suppression under the spirit light of intimidation of a higher demon. The lower demons simply had no power to resist. Even if one's innate talent was very strong, even if they had evolved to the peak of their current rank, as long as they weren't high demons, they wouldn't be able to withstand the spiritual light of intimidation. Unfortunately, these demons weren't the demons that Daimon had imagined. For the glory of Audiobook, our Lord is watching us. Demon fanatics, this kind of existence that was even more terrifying than brainless fans, had long evolved into extreme terrorists. How could such a monster have any fear? Why would he care about the spiritual light of intimidation? We never ask who the enemy is. We only ask, where is he? Under the power of faith, the fearless demon fanatics loudly chanted the holy name of Audiobook and bravely charged at Dimison. What is this situation? The scene in front of him completely distorted Dimison's view of the world. Ignoring the spirit light of intimidation of a higher demon was one thing, but shouting the name of a god and shouting, "Our Lord." What was this situation? Demons and gods were natural enemies. Dimison naturally wasn't unfamiliar with gods. But the demons believed in gods? What kind of joke was this? Dimison was already stunned. It was no wonder he was stunned. Demons believed in gods, and demons became believers. This was even more shocking than a monk saying the immeasurable deity. This was even more frightening than a capitalist loudly singing, "Rise, starving and cold slaves." Then there was something even more frightening. For the glory of Audiobook, one by one, the evil demons rushed to Dimison's side. Without hesitation, they resolutely self-detonated. Boom, boom, boom. A series of self-detonations made Dimison dizzy. His brain was in a daze, and his flesh and blood flew everywhere. Killed imps and winged demons. Killed winged demons and dretch demons. There was no end to it. It was simply endless. Demon fanatics, demon terrorists, let me ask you, are you afraid? Afraid, afraid. Dimison was already scared silly. Audiobook's dark judgment. Audiobook leapt up, and while Dimison was still dizzy from the self-detonation, he swung his giant axe and heavily chopped down on Dimison's body. With a mournful scream, Dimison's huge body was chopped in half by Audiobook's axe. Submit or die. Raising his giant axe, Audiobook stepped on Dimison's head and roared coldly. The Slayer will never submit. Even though he was defeated, Dimison was still very unyielding. Higher demons were different from normal demons, and their self-awareness was much stronger. Compared to those lower demons who surrendered at the mere sight of the wind, they more or less had some backbone. This kind of higher demon seems to be more suitable to be converted into a believer. Audiobook was somewhat reluctant to kill Dimison. Never submit? I hope you can remain unyielding until the end. Fear, curse of pain, and soul fire. The warlocks of Azeroth were very proficient in the power of pain. The pain of his soul burning made Dimison let out a mournful scream. I don't know how effective the enslavement array is on the Baler. Let's experiment first. With a wave of his hand, the Baler's magma-like blood flowed out and continuously twisted, creating an enslavement array on the ground. With a trembling sound, the enslavement array burst out with a deep shadow, covering Dimison's body. The mournful scream was earth-shattering. The crazy roars made Audiobook's ears ring. After struggling for a while, Dimison's soul was already marked with the mark of reverence, and he had officially become a believer of Audiobook. My lord, please forgive me for my offense. The shadow on the enslavement array dissipated, and Dimison dragged half of his body and knelt in front of Audiobook, pious and terrified. A powerful demon fanatic was born. Repair the body, and then go to your lava castle. Audiobook waved his hand and gave Dimison an order. Yes. Dimison grabbed half of the body and pressed it against his waist. The terrifying regenerative ability of a higher demon allowed Dimison to repair his body in an instant. My lord, please follow me. Dimison's eyes were respectful and fanatical. This was yet another demon terrorist. Chapter 1431. This is my lord, the great prince Audiobook. After returning to the lava castle, Dimison gathered the hundreds of thousands of demons under him and paid their respects to Audiobook. Scum, worms, kowtow to the great prince Audiobook. Quickly kowtow. Whoever is slow will die. Demons were creatures that couldn't be asked for too much. Even if the Mason threatened them with death, this kneeling and kowtowing ceremony was still a mess. It was extremely chaotic. Dimison chopped off a few hundred heads in a row before the ceremony was completed. My lord, this is all of my treasures. Please kindly accept it. After the ceremony, Dimison brought Audiobook to the main hall of the lava castle and opened Dimison's treasury. It was a complete mess inside. Demons with chaotic natures couldn't place their treasures neatly even if they collected them. They could only throw them all over the place. Soul crystals. A large pile of soul crystals. In the lower planes, whether it was the abyss or hell, souls were the common currency. These soul crystals were like the gold coins of the various planes. They were a form of currency. These things are actually quite useful. Audouin had the warlock profession, so these soul crystals were suitable for casting spells. Healing stones, soul stones, they all required soul crystals as materials. Apart from these soul crystals, there were all kinds of weapons, armors, and magic equipment in a mess. This is... In Dimoson's collection, Audouin saw a crown. A black crown. The crown was made of black nightshade gold and inlaid with a gem that faintly emitted traces of silver light. Audouin sensed a strange aura from this crown. Reaching out, Audouin grabbed the black crown in his hand. He could feel a wave of power coming from the crown, which was coming from his soul. What is this? Where did you get it? This crown clearly had soul energy. This was a psionic warlock, or psionic warlock equipment. The psionic warlock's idealistic ability to interfere with reality was something that Liu had planned to research from the beginning. It was only because his main body was too strong that it was inconvenient to make a move. Victor hadn't had the time to torment the underground world of the main plane yet. He hadn't harmed the mind flayers yet. Now, they found psionic warlock equipment in the abyss. Could it be that a mind flayer had come to the abyss? This crown, Dimison rubbed his head, causing a series of sparks to fly out. He didn't remember it all. My lord, I forgot. A brain is a good thing, but unfortunately, you don't have it. Audouin shook his head helplessly. With a wave of his hand, he sent the psionic warlock crown into the system resource warehouse. Since it was something that the main body wanted to research, he could just leave it to the main body to handle. The other things in the treasury are also useful. With another wave of his hand, Audouin swept through Dimuson's treasury. Audouin's current strength wasn't too strong. These weapons and equipment, as well as some magic tools, were more or less useful. My lord, there is a group of prisoners in the dungeon of the castle. Please deal with them. After walking out of the treasury, Dimison reported another piece of news to Audouin. Prisoner. Demons also take prisoners? Didn't they just tear them to shreds? Audouin was a bit interested. What kind of prisoners? Lead the way. My lord, it's a group of elves. Elves? Audouin was stunned. Elves came to the abyss? What was this situation? Even if they wanted to die, this wasn't the way to do it, right? With the harsh environment of the abyss, one would be poisoned to death if they took a breath. This group of elves was locked up in the dungeon by Dimison, but they didn't die. Following Dimison into the dungeon, Audouin saw the group of elves. There were a total of 20 elves. Although they were on the verge of death and mentally exhausted, they were still full of vitality. There was no sign of them dying from poisoning. After being in the abyss for so long, I finally met a creature that I like. Glancing at the elves locked up in the dungeon, Audouin smiled and nodded. Elves were indeed one of the most beautiful creatures in the multiverse. Even Audouin felt that the appearance of this group of elves was a bit stunning. This should be the aftereffects of the abyss. After staying in the abyss for a while, all the elves he saw were ugly and hideous. They weren't beautiful at all. The only ones that could be seen were the succubi. If he didn't look at those hooves, Audouin could still bear it. But, seeing those black hooves that kept emitting fire, Audouin felt that as someone who was obsessed with legs, he simply couldn't bear it. The group of elves in front of him finally made Audouin see something that was aesthetically pleasing. Elves, tell me where you came from. Audouin walked to the dungeon, glanced at the group of elves inside, and asked, Human? No, not human. The aura on your body is very strange. Like a dragon, like a demon, but also a bit of a human aura. It's really strange. A beautiful elven girl stood up and looked at Audouin with a puzzled expression. She actually had this ability? Audouin's heart shook. This elven girl actually saw through his essence. Dragon soul, human memories, demon reincarnation method. All of these made Audouin's aura somewhat strange. But this extremely subtle difference wasn't something that just anyone could see. Who are you? Audouin stared at this elven girl expressionlessly. Audwin felt a bloody aura from this elven girl and all the other elves. This wasn't an aura that elves should have. Demon, don't you dare. We Silver Moon elves won't yield. At this time, beside the elven girl, another female elf roared angrily. Are you deliberately telling me where you came from? Hee, how interesting. Audwin sneered. Silver Moon elves, it sounded quite holy. But the moon goddess of this world wasn't a kind goddess. The moon goddess was also known as the Blood Moon Goddess. Silver Moon, that was a title that these elves gave themselves. The followers of the Blood Moon Goddess were most famous for vampires. A group of vampire elves? What a strange creature. No wonder they didn't die in an environment like the Abyss. Vampire elves were completely different creatures compared to normal elves. Vampire elves? Followers of the Blood Moon? Very good. Audwin waved his hand, and a giant axe with black flames appeared in his hand. Holding the giant axe and pointing at the group of vampire elves, Audwin's cold voice sounded in the dungeon. Submit or die. Chapter 1432. We are believers of the Blood Moon. We will never yield. This was the reply of the vampire elves. Then, the brave Dimison roared and rushed into the cage, knocking the vampire elves unconscious and throwing them into the enslavement array. After snatching the believers of the Blood Moon, I became the enemy of the Blood Moon. But when this god can't even take care of himself, so what if I offend him? Audwin pursed his lips and activated the enslavement array. Different from the demons, this group of vampire elves was very suitable to become believers. There were no losses at all after the conversion, and there were still 20 elves. Greetings, my lord. Greetings, the great Lord Audwin. A group of vampire elves bowed respectfully in front of Audwin. From today onwards, you are Audwin's people. I bestow upon you a new name, Blood Elves. Big Bosley had started his prank again. The vampire elves had become Blood Elves. Kale, that's Coffin, could no longer hold him down. Yes, thank you, my lord, for bestowing upon us a new name. The Blood Elves once bowed in front of Audwin. They had betrayed the god and lost the power of the priest that the god had bestowed upon them. This group of Blood Elves was pale and on the verge of collapsing. They had obviously suffered heavy injuries. You have lost the power of the Blood Moon. I bestow upon you a new power. After abandoning the darkness and joining the light, they naturally had to be rewarded. These are the basic rules. Audwin himself did not possess the ability to bestow power, but didn't he still have the power of his main body? Since the Blood Elves had come out, would the Blood Knights be far away? Darkness, evil, blood, death. The essence of the Blood Elves was very suitable to become Death Knights. With the support of his main body, Audwin raised his giant axe. Endless shadows burst out from the dark runes and enveloped this group of Blood Elves. In the name of Audwin Isario, I bestow upon you the authority to walk on the side of death. Darkness, evil, blood, death, they shall become the source of your power. Awaken, my knights. The power of the law flowed. The light of the shadows turned into magic patterns and merged into the bodies of the Blood Elves. My lord Audwin, you're the master of darkness, the source of evil, the embodiment of death, the apocalypse of destruction. Darkness, evil, blood, and death. A powerful force surged from the Blood Elf's body. A dark red glow spread out like a mighty river of blood. In the devout prayers, the 20 newly promoted Death Knights knelt before Audwin. That's right. Not bad. Not only was he pleasing to the eye, he was also good at fighting. What other subordinate was more suitable for him? Audwin was very satisfied with this. However, when Audwin turned his head and saw Dimison, he found this tyrannical fighter even more unpleasant to the eye. Ugly. It was too ugly. I'm about to cry because of your ugliness. The appearance of a demon really did not fit Audwin's aesthetic standards. This was an era where looks mattered. Beauty is justice. Being ugly was a sin. Transformation. It had to be reformed. Putting aside the fact that Audwin found it an eyesore, from the perspective of development, the demon army would definitely enter the main plane in the future. If a group of demons ran to the main plane, the consequences would definitely be everyone's downfall. Even the holy light would have to purify this evil. However, if it was a group of handsome men and beautiful women that ran to the main plane, how could such a beautiful girl be a demon? How could such a cute boy be a bad guy? Beauty is justice. Thinking of this, Audouin was even more determined to transform the demon army. How simple is this? Even if it's not convenient for me to use the power of creation now, how difficult would it be to create something similar to the permanent transformation spell? The answer given by the main body made Audouin 100 times more confident. Dimison, gather all the demons. I want to bestow upon them the baptism of darkness. The hundreds of thousands of demons under Dimison's command had to walk through the enslavement spell and become new demon terrorists. It was a good opportunity to solve the problem at once. Ultimate plastic surgery spell. This was a new spell that Liu came up with. Compared to the beautification spell and disguise spell, this ultimate plastic surgery spell was the pinnacle of the four great evil spells. And so, the grand and spectacular devil's plastic surgery officially began. Oh, what's going on? My lord, why did I become like this? When the demons walked through the enslavement spell, the ultimate plastic surgery spell added to the enslavement spell caused the demons to instantly become beautiful women. What made Audouin helpless was that the transformed demons were all women. Main body, what's going on? Audouin looked at the tens of thousands of extremely hot, seductive, and charming beauties in front of him and was completely stunned. Boss, you're still single even now, right? You opened such a huge harem for me. What's going on? You're entrusting your unfinished business and your dream of opening a harem to me? You didn't set your gender, and now you're blaming me? If you didn't set your gender, then you can only default to being a girl. The main body laughed strangely. Audouin even heard that His Highness the Sacred Victor was laughing so hard that he couldn't breathe. *T. You've cheated so many people that you even cheated yourself? My lord, do you like this? Seeing the tens of thousands of curvaceous and charming beauties gathered in the huge castle hall, the group of blood elf knights silently began to undress. Stop! Stop! Although the lava castle is at the mouth of the volcano, I know it's very hot here. But why are you all undressed so thoroughly? At least leave some. Before Audouin could finish speaking, he immediately understood the reason. Demons didn't have the habit of wearing clothes. Demons who had been turned into beauties by the ultimate plastic surgery spell naturally didn't have any clothes. In the eyes of the Blood Elves, His Highness Audouin probably had some special hobbies to transform tens of thousands of naked beauties in an instant. Oh, my illustrious name. Audouin was completely speechless towards that unscrupulous main body who cheated even himself. My lord, do you want this servant to serve you? D. Mason raised his weapon and swayed his fiery red hair. His face was full of flirtatious charm. Uff. Even a powerful man like Dimison had undergone a sex change operation. Oh my god. Audouin spat out a mouthful of blood and almost couldn't breathe. No, no, I have to change it back. Forget about other demons. I'm not familiar with them anyway. Dimison, a powerful and majestic man, had undergone a sex change operation. Isn't this too terrifying? The ultimate plastic surgery spell has an eternal characteristic. After the surgery, it can't be changed. The main body didn't provide a refund service. Audouin was cursing in his heart. Too evil. Really too evil. Why do I feel a faint joy in my heart? No, I'm definitely not such a person. Definitely not. I just helplessly accepted reality. Chapter 1433. You come here. Audouin touched his forehead and sighed. He then beckoned the blood elf girl, who seemed to be the leader over. My lord, what orders do you have? The blood elf girl who had taken off her clothes walked over slowly. She looked shy and her eyes were like water, as if she had thought of something indescribable. What's your name? Audouin looked at the blood elf girl helplessly. My name is Lucia. Blood elf Lucia's face blushed slightly. She was extremely shy. Lucia, I'll give you a sacred mission. It's my honor to serve my lord. Lucia became even more shy after hearing Ajuin's words. She seemed to be thinking more. We're clothes. Ajuin waved his hand helplessly. Huh? Lucia was stunned for a moment. She did not understand what he meant. Teach them to wear clothes. Ajuin looked up and sighed. Demons had never had the concept of wearing clothes. If he did not want his army to be mistaken for selling meat when he went to war in the future, he could only teach these demons how to wear clothes first. Wait a minute. I misunderstood the main body's meaning. Yes, I misunderstood. The main body is really doing this for my own good. Imagine if the demons who had undergone plastic surgery were all men. Tens of thousands of naked men would appear in front of Ajuin. That kind of scene would be blinded by the rain of bullets. Phew! Luckily, they were all women. Ajuin was scared. Were clothes? But, my lord, there are no clothes here. Lucia was in a difficult position. In the entire lava castle, other than the 20 blood elves who had clothes, where else could they find half a piece of cloth? Damn, what kind of trouble have I gotten myself into? Ajuin suddenly felt that his idea of devilish plastic surgery couldn't be any worse. After turning into beauties, the demons had to wear clothes, armor, and weapons. Demons did not know what production was. Ajuin had to prepare all these things for them. *T. I hope they don't have periods. I have never learned how to produce sanitary pads. Ajuin, who regretted his actions, was depressed. He left the group of beauties behind and turned to leave. Fortunately, the resource warehouse's production capacity is strong. As long as there is energy, anything can be made. The lava castle was located at the mouth of the volcano. Countless abyss grindstone could be refined from the boiling magma. This made it easier for Ajuin to solve the problem of the demon beauty's clothes. Although they're beautiful on the outside, they're still demons in essence. Hard armor won't burden the demons. Walking to the crater of the volcano, Ajuin reached out and activated the recovery function of the resource warehouse, continuously extracting the boiling magma from the crater. Abyssal magic iron, dark adamantine, magic silver, all kinds of abyss metals were constantly being refined from the lava. Then they transformed into suits of armor, huge swords, axes, and hammers. Not long after, Ajuin finally completed the production task. Lucia, Daimisen, come here. After throwing the newly crafted armor and weapons from the resource vault into the castle hall, Ajuin called the blood elf girl Lucia and the Baylor Daimisen over. My lord, just as the two of them rushed over to greet him, Ajuin waved his hand and interrupted them. Take these equipment and arm them. The system's products were definitely the best. These weapons and armors were all inscribed with evil runes. They were all very powerful magic equipment and could be considered purple quality. So many high-level magic equipment? My lord, your power is too strong. In just a moment, he could take out so many obviously newly crafted high-level equipment. Could it be that the Lord's clergy also included the creation clergy? The boss was a tycoon, which was absolutely good news for the subordinates. Lucia wasn't a fanatic. All the blood elves weren't fanatics. They were also very devout in their belief in Ajuin, but they weren't brainless extremist terrorists. The powerful power that Ajuin displayed, coupled with this terrifying creation ability, made Lucia and the other blood elves even more delighted. My lord's glory would definitely illuminate the entire abyss. The entire abyss would become my lord's territory. All demons would become my lord's followers. My lord would definitely become the supreme ruler, the unprecedented abyss god. Under the leadership of Lucia and Daimisen, the 10,000 armed female troops began to familiarize themselves with the equipment. Then another problem occurred. Demons were demons after all. After getting used to the demon form, every demon was completely unaccustomed to this new body. Not only did their combat power not increase, but it also decreased a lot. All right, this is another problem. I regret it so much. Why did I turn demons into this form? Wasn't this just asking for trouble? Helpless, Ajuin could only promote the profession plan in the female troops. demon warlock, demon hunter, death knight. These are the three professions that Ajuin gave. There isn't a profession that can heal. This profession system is completely unreasonable. Compared to the unkillable holy light, Ajuin realized that his dark power system couldn't be compared to Victor's holy light system at all. What I need to heal? Just suck my own blood. The main body's prompt made Ajuin's eyes light up. That's right. Since it's an evil lineup, why would I need to heal? Just suck my blood. Warlocks had life absorption, and Death Knights had vampiric aura. As long as there were living creatures around, once the vampiric skill was used, wouldn't it be healing? Demon Hunters didn't have vampiric skills, so adding the Warlock's life absorption to the Demon Hunter model would solve the problem. After making up his mind, Ajuin raised his giant axe, and the power of faith condensed in the dark runes turned into a black light that shrouded all the beauties in the demon army. Runes were imprinted in the bodies of the beauties, and according to the different talents of the demons, they each became a corresponding profession. The profession models of warlocks, demon hunters, and death knights were imprinted in the bodies of the demons. After a series of modifications, Ajuin's female troops finally looked like something. An army made up of beauties. Beautiful warrior? Destroy you on behalf of the moon? I'm speechless. After solving the profession problem, Ajuin didn't even have the mood to take a look. He threw the army to Lucia and Dimison and was too lazy to care. So be it. Let's do it. Fortunately, it's not Balala Demon Fairy. With the main body's nature, the possibility of Balala Demon Fairy. Ajuin shuddered. If my army went to war, they would dance for a while and then chant Balala Demon Fairy. The enemy would die of laughter, right? Chapter 1434. Kill, kill, kill. The demonic army training was very demonic. Fight. It was a complete mess. It was a complete mess. In the huge military camp of the lava castle, on the vast training ground, tens of thousands of beautiful girls were waving their giant swords and axes, fighting in a mess. All right, this is very demonic. Ajuin stood at the window of the castle, watching the chaotic fighting on the training ground, speechless. My lord, demons are chaotic by nature and are not suitable to form an army. The demons of hell are the most suitable soldiers for my lord. Lucia held a wine glass and bowed as she handed it to Ajuin. The dark red wine in the crystal glass was like a glass of blood. Blood elves were evil creatures, but not chaotic creatures. They were similar to the demons of hell and belonged to the evil formation of order. Lucia could not bear the chaotic training scene of the demonic army. Military discipline. All right, what do demons know about discipline? What is order? Hell? I'll go. It was difficult to conquer the abyss, not to mention hell, which had been fighting the demons of the abyss for hundreds of millions of years. Although Ajuin was interested in the 7 deadly sins of hell, he could not attack hell in a short time. Ahaha! Dregs, Dimoson's power is the strongest. After his sex change, Dimison held a giant sword and swept across the training ground, beating up a group of beautiful warriors until they fled in panic. All right, at least from the perspective of eye candy, it's better than watching a group of ugly demons fight. Swaying waists, surging waves, pink and tender arms, slender and beautiful legs. If one were to selectively forget their original appearances, this scene would be very beautiful. Time passed amidst the chaos. After a month, the beautiful warriors were completely familiar with their new bodies and the power of their new profession. Although there was no military discipline, at least their fighting power was not bad. The conquest could continue. Boom! Suddenly, there was an explosion in the sky, and a pitch-black, demonic aura swept over. A group of demons roared crazily and charged in the direction of the lava castle. The leader was a 6-armed snake demon. Its upper body was humanoid, and its lower body was that of a snake. It was 100 meters long and had 6 arms. Each arm held a giant machete. 6-armed snake demons were second only to flame balers. Every 6-armed snake demon was a powerful sword saint. 6 arms, 6 scimitars. If he used Blade Storm, the terrifying destructive power would be terrifying. Behind the six-armed Naga, there were hundreds of thousands of Abyss Devils. These 100,000 Abyss Devils were not cannon fodder like the imps. There were even very few low-level demons. Most of them were Hezru, Glabrizu, and Succubus. There was also a large group of abyssal arachne. Damn it, where are the sentries? The enemy has already reached the castle, and the sentries haven't discovered it yet? Ajuin was both furious and speechless when he saw the incoming demons. The demons' military discipline. The sentinels should have gone to the training ground to fight. They should have long forgotten their patrol duties, right? The hundreds of thousands of demons in the lava castle turned into more than 10,000 beautiful warrior maidens. Their numbers decreased sharply, which made the wandering evil demons almost extinct. Without these wandering demons, it would be impossible to discover the enemy from a long distance. Lava Castle, Dimison's territory. The six-armed Naga rushed to the mouth of the volcano and looked at the castle built on the mountain wall. There was a crazy sneer on his sinister face. From today onwards, this is mine. Raising his scimitar and pointing at the castle, the six-armed Naga roared, "Kill! Kill that idiot Dimison for me!" Roar! An army of over 100,000 intermediate abyss devils roared and swarmed towards the lava castle. More than 100,000 intermediate abyss devils. This is a very powerful force. Ajuin frowned as he looked at the demonic army that was charging at him. Dimison had hundreds of thousands of abyss devils under his command, but most of them were cannon fodder imps and low-level abyss devils. There were very few true intermediate abyss devils. After Ajuin transformed these hundreds of thousands of abyss devils, there were only 10,000 qualified, beautiful warrior maidens left. These beautiful warrior maidens were only equivalent to intermediate abyss devils. Ajuin only had 10,000 intermediate abyss devils under his command, but this six-armed Naga had actually led 100,000 intermediate abyss devils to attack. This six-armed Naga's background must be very impressive. Dimison, gather the army and fight. Ajuin wasn't in a good mood after being attacked at his doorstep. He roared at the top of his lungs and released Dimison and the group of beautiful warrior maidens. Six-armed Naga, you're courting death. Dimison's entire body surged with raging flames as he led the beautiful warrior maidens out of the castle. Holding a blazing greatsword, he pointed at the six-armed Naga and loudly roared, You. The six-armed Naga and the 100,000 abyss devils behind her were all dumbstruck when they saw the group of beautiful warrior maidens in front of them. What was this situation? Wasn't this the territory of the flame Baylor Dimison? How did it become a group of humans? And all of them were women? Was this still the abyss? Could it be that they had accidentally run into the main plane? But why did these women have the same aura as abyss devils? What the hell was going on? Six-armed Naga, you dare to step into my master's territory? Naga Duke Razan, you dare to offend my master? Your crimes are unpardonable. Dimison raised his blazing greatsword and roared at the sky. For the glory of Ajuin, kill all these abyss devils. For the glory of Ajuin, kill. The beautiful warrior maidens roared wildly, brandishing their greatswords and axes as they charged madly at the abyss devil legion in front of them. The beautiful warrior maidens were still fanatics of abyss devils in essence, and were still extreme terrorists. When it came to fighting, they were completely disregarding their own lives. Vampiric aura, life steal, in addition to their sturdy armor and sharp weapons. Even if the beautiful warrior maidens didn't want to die, they wouldn't lose their lives. Although they were only intermediate abyss devils, the beautiful warrior maidens who had undergone a profession change were more powerful than intermediate abyss devils. What kind of strange place have I come to? The six-armed Naga was completely stupefied, shouting the name of a god and attacking madly without regard for their lives. This was completely a fanatic of a god. Was this still the abyss? Had she come to the wrong place? Die. Dimison's crazy attacks interrupted the six-armed Naga's thoughts. Regardless of whether she had come to the wrong place or not, this battle could only continue. Fortunately, there weren't many enemies and they weren't too strong. Eliminating them wouldn't be difficult. The six-armed Naga was thinking this. And then she wanted to cry. Fear, death withering, curse of weakness, curse of pain, curse of life, curse of element, curse of soul. A series of curse spells fell on her head, and the six-armed Naga didn't even have the strength to lift her curved sword. I really came to the wrong place. Seeing the man wearing a black robe and covered in black flames rush out of the castle, the six-armed Naga felt extreme regret. How is this a lava castle? How is this the territory of the Baylor, demon Dimison? This was clearly a god's shrine. Chapter 1435. It was a glorious victory. After Ajuin threw a bunch of curses at it, the six-armed snake demon knelt down as expected. If Ajuin hadn't shouted quickly, Dimison would have chopped off the six-armed snake demon's head. The following process was very simple. Surrender and incorporate it, then use the enslavement array again. Thus, Ajuin had an extra 100,000 beautiful warriors in his hands. My lord, snake demon Duke Razan, dared to offend my lord's dignity, heinous beyond redemption. Please allow me to lead the army to crusade against the foolish Razan. The six-armed snake demon turned into a beauty with a water snake waist and became one of the three generals under Ajuin. Blood Elf Knight Lucia, Baylor Flame Demon Dimison, and six-armed snake demon Crows. The three of them were Ajuin's strongest forces with profession levels of 18. Apart from that, the majority of the 100,000 intermediate demons brought by six-armed snake demon Crows surrendered, except for some that were killed by the beautiful warriors. After the enslavement array was modified, all of them turned into new beautiful warriors. As for why he didn't modify the demons into men, Ajuin said there was no need to care about such details. Feminizing the entire abyss, Ajuin's journey was long and arduous. Distribute the weapons and equipment. Familiarize yourself with the new bodies, the new profession, and the new way of fighting. I will give you 1 month. After 1 month, we will attack north. Ajuin pointed his spear at the Flame Demon Duke. After obtaining the Abyss Lord qualification, Ajuin would have to fight all the preparatory Abyss Lords in this layer of the Abyss. The Flame Demon Duke was also one of the preparatory Abyss Lords. After sweeping through the Flame Demon Duke's territory, the beautiful warriors would snowball and eventually sweep through this layer of the Abyss, becoming the official Abyss Lord. This was the first step of Ajuin's current plan. Becoming the master of darkness and evil, and sweeping through the entire Abyss was Ajuin's ultimate goal. My lord, your will is our mission. Blood Knight Lucia, Flame Demon Dimison, and Snake Demon Crows received the order and left, intending to fiercely train the demons under them. Even if they had undergone plastic surgery to become beautiful warriors, they were still demons in essence. Prepare the army for war, and then sweep out in all directions. Leading the army of beauties, Ajuin wreaked havoc in the territory of the Flame Demon Duke, sweeping through the castles, defeating countless demons, and conquering a vast territory. Have you heard? The Flame Demon Duke's territory has been attacked by a group of humans. Human? What a joke. The Flame Demon Duke was already this weak. Even humans can't stop it. What were humans in the eyes of demons? It was just food. Even the humans could invade the Flame Demon Duke's territory, and even conquer a huge territory. Was the Flame Demon Duke already so weak? The rule of the demons originated from power. Without an awe-inspiring reputation, it was impossible to maintain a dominant position. The disgraced Flame Demon Duke had already become the target of ridicule for countless demons. In the territory of the Flame Demon Duke, all sorts of rebellions were happening one after another. Damn it! Damn it! The enraged Flame Demon Duke swung his giant sword and chopped off a large number of heads. Only then did the anger in his heart subside slightly. Tell me what's going on. Where did those humans come from? The flame demon, Duke, spat out flames from his nostrils as he stared fiercely at a Glabriza kneeling in front of him and roared furiously. Lord Duke, the origins of those humans are very mysterious. Every time they fight, they shout the name Audiobook. They seem to be believers of some god. However, we have never heard of this god called Audiobook. The Glabrizu trembled as he knelt in front of the flame demon Duke and reported, God? There are actually gods who came to the abyss? The flame demon Duke snorted angrily as the lava greatsword in his hand exploded with endless flames. Are you planning to turn the entire lava wilderness into a god kingdom? That will depend on how capable you are. Gods snatched a level of the abyss and turned it into their own god kingdom. In the eyes of some chaotic evil gods, this was a very good deal. The Spider Queen Lolth had done this before, and so had the Penishade Dragon King Tiamat. A chaotic evil god becoming the Lord of the Abyss was not much different from a demon becoming the Lord of the Abyss. However, to the demons, this was a matter of life and death. After all, demons could not become believers and had no value to the gods. Killing them all was the best way to deal with them. I am not the only Duke in the lava wilderness. There are also the Snake Demon Duke and the Succubus Duke. Facing the threat of the gods, I cannot be the only one at the front and let the two of them watch from the side. As a Duke and a legendary demon, the Flame Demon Duke was not a brainless idiot. If he fought against the gods alone, even if he won, he would definitely suffer heavy losses. It would only benefit the two of them. Men, send a letter to the Snake Demon Duke and the Succubus Duke. He threw out 2 magic fire crystals and store the message of the gods are attacking into the crystals before throwing it to the Glabrizu in front of him. The Flame Demon Duke walked out of the castle hall and gave the order to all the demons under him to hold back. They had to stabilize the front line and reduce their losses. Only after pulling the snake demons and succubi over would they be able to fight against the army of the gods. The Flame Demon Duke actually pulled back and stopped fighting. Hearing Blood Knight Lucia's report, Ajuin was a little surprised. He could not figure out what the Flame Demon Duke was up to. Did a legendary demon have to be so cowardly? I'm already prepared to have a big fight with you. Now you're telling me to stop fighting? Was there such a good thing? After sweeping through half of the Flame Demon territory, Ajuin's army was already strong and powerful. The number of beautiful maiden warriors had officially broken through the 1,000,000 mark. 1,000,000 demon fanatics, all of them wearing purple equipment and having activated the profession level of Azeroth, were very powerful. More importantly, with 1,000,000 fanatics in his hands, Ajuin's accumulated power of faith was so rich that it was about to explode. With so much divine power to squander, even if Ajuin's profession level had not reached legendary, his absolute power had already surpassed the legendary level. Other than that, Ajuin also had dozens of powerful fighters like Blood Knight Lucia in his hands. You won't fight me, but I'll fight you. Ajuin raised his eyes and looked into the distance. There was a vast lava lake there. The Flame Demon Duke's main city was beside that lake. Pass down the order, March. Other than Lava City, wipe out all the territories under the Flame Demon Duke's command. If you want to pull back your forces, then I'll swallow all your forces on the periphery and surround the city from the countryside. Let's see how long you can pull back. Chapter 1436. Duke, we have already lost all the territories in the south. Duke, Wing of Death is attacking the North Shore territory again. Duke, during this period of time, the fire demon Duke Desmond's anger was like an erupting volcano. He had been hearing bad news every day. Even though he had withdrawn his main forces to Lava City, the loss of the outer territories still pained him. To be able to sweep the outer territories so quickly, Wing of Death Ajuin's power is even more terrifying than I expected. Fortunately, I withdrew most of my forces. Otherwise, I would have suffered even greater losses if I fought him head-on. The fire demon Duke Desmond took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. He turned his head to look at the Glabrizu and asked, Snake Demon and succubus still haven't replied? For now, there is no news. Damn it. The fire demon Duke's angry roar spread throughout Lava City. Laser and Lilith, you two idiots. If you don't join hands with me, only death awaits you. If I die, none of you will survive. Without the assistance of the snake demon Duke Lasern and the succubus Duke Lilith, and without joining hands with them, the fire demon Duke Desmond had no confidence in resisting the invasion of a god. Even if Wing of Death Auduin didn't descend with his main body and only sent a clone to the abyss, it was still a god's clone. A god's clone that descended with the model of a saint-possessed divinity and divine power. It was on a completely different level compared to an ordinary legend rank expert. What should I do? What should I do? The fire demon Duke was anxious. If it weren't for the fact that fire demons couldn't sweat, he would already be sweating profusely. He definitely couldn't defeat Auduin. Without the help of the snake demon Duke and the succubus Duke, if he didn't join hands and fight with his life on the line, only death awaited him. He wouldn't even be able to escape. Surrender? He had never heard of a god accepting a demon surrender. Demons couldn't become believers and couldn't provide faith. They were worthless to a god. Where was their way out? After the god conquered a layer of the abyss, Lorcy chopped up the demons and used them to feed and nurture spiders. The evil dragon queen Tiamat used her evil fire dragon breath to burn the demons of that layer to ashes. When this wing of death conquered the lava wilderness, what happened to the demons? Wings of Death. This title already explained everything. Death was the only outcome. In reality, Flame Demon Duke Desmond was wrong. What Auduin did was even more horrifying. My name is Auduin Isario. I am the master of darkness, the source of evil, the embodiment of death. The overwhelming black flames soared into the sky and engulfed the world, burning the entire sky. A figure clad in a black robe, holding a giant axe, with a pair of black dragon wings spread out behind him. His entire body was burning with black flames as he strode over from the distant sky. Behind Auduin, figures in black armor spread across the place like a black tide surging toward Qingnan. It took Auduin a month to wipe out all the territories around Lava Castle. All the demons were either hacked to death by the androgynous warriors or turned into androgynous warriors. Auduin's army of beauties had expanded to millions. For the glory of Auduin, slaughter, destruction, conquer. Our Lord's glory illuminates the abyss. Most of the androgynous warriors were fanatics of the demons, and they were all extreme terrorists. This kind of crazy killing intent made one's heart tremble. Face the enemy. Face the enemy. Auduin, I, Desmond, am not to be trifled with. The flame demon overlord knew that this battle was unavoidable, so he could only brace himself and face it. Torrential flames soared into the sky as flame demon overlord Desmond led the powerful flame demon army and millions of demons to face Auduin's army of beauties. Rumble, rumble. Tens of thousands of Baylor demons followed behind the flame demon overlord and used their fire-wielding talent to activate the vast lava lake outside Lava Castle. Vast lava surged up like a raging tide, turning into a lava river that surrounded Lava Castle and acted as a moat to resist the attacks of the army of beauties. Amidst the flapping of wings, numerous winged demons rushed out of Lava Castle and soared into the sky, charging toward the army of beauties. Countless demons gathered on the walls of Lava Castle, on the streets, and in the plaza. Torrential flames soared into the sky. That idiot Desmond's brain isn't filled with lava. Even if Auduin swept through the outer territories, he didn't lose much of his true strength. On a distant cliff, a graceful figure wearing a pink veil raised her head and looked in the direction of Lava Castle. She nodded slightly. This was the succubus Duke Lilith, one of the 3 demon dukes of the lava wilderness. He's still bound to lose this battle. The only question is how much damage he can inflict on Auduin. A snake demon wriggled over and stopped beside Lilith, the succubus duchess. Her snake-like hair fluttered in the wind as she shook her head lightly. For a god, The loss of the believer is the loss of faith. If the loss of believers is too great, the losses will outweigh the gains. It's possible that Audouin will withdraw from the abyss. Even in the abyss, one has to carefully consider declaring war against a god. The succubus Duke Lilith sighed. Let's wait and see. Let's see how much damage that idiot Desmond can inflict on Audouin. If there's hope, we can give it a try. At this point, the succubus Duke turned her head and glanced at snake demon Razan. If Desmond's resistance doesn't achieve the expected result, we can only escape. Escape from the lava wilderness. Lilith, even if we escape to the abyss of fear and fall into the hands of the fear demon king, it will be very difficult for us to survive. Snake demon Razan let out a long sigh, remaining silent. It's better than falling into the hands of Audouin. A god doesn't need a demon. The succubus queen shook her head. Escaping from the lava wilderness and this layer of the abyss had a huge price to pay. If they escaped from the lava wilderness, they would definitely lose the qualifications to become the Lord of the Abyss. They would never be able to obtain this qualification again. From then on, their strength would no longer be able to improve. Not only that, even if they successfully escaped to the abyss of fear and fell into the hands of the fear demon king, they would definitely be trampled upon and killed by the fear demon king at any time. Audouin is here. The war is about to start. Let's observe the situation first. In the distance, outside the lava castle, black flames covered the entire sky. Audouin stepped on the black flames and walked toward the lava castle. The power of darkness and the power of death were surging. It was as if the whole world was trembling under Audouin's feet. His overflowing divine might was unstoppable. This is Audouin? He's really terrifying. Lilith and Razan's faces turned pale when they sensed the enormous divine power lingering around Audouin's body. Chapter 1437. Audouin, I, Desmond, am not someone to be trifled with. Lava flames surged in front of the flame demon Duke. He raised his flaming greatsword high up like a crazily erupting volcano, spewing out a pillar of flames that shot into the sky. I admit that the power of gods is very strong, but if you defeat me, your believers will also suffer heavy casualties. Desmond pointed his sword at the beautiful female warriors behind Audouin and loudly shouted, Audouin, the power of gods comes from faith. Even if you defeat me, there won't be many of your followers left. After losing so many believers, even if you conquer the lava wilderness and this layer of the abyss, the gains will not make up for the losses. Stop fighting. Audouin, your divinity is at most mid-grade. Losing millions of believers will cause your divinity to drop, and you will only be able to maintain your low-grade divinity. Your enemies, as well as those hypocritical good gods, will not let go of this opportunity. Desmond did not want to fight Audouin head-on, and he planned to persuade Audouin to back off. Audouin, even if you defeat me and the other demon dukes in the lava wilderness and completely conquer this layer of the abyss, you will still face great danger. The lava wilderness is not far from the abyss of fear. The fear demon king will not be willing to be neighbors with a god. The fear demon king was one of the giants among the abyss demons, and his strength was equivalent to a god with high divine power. After conquering the lava wilderness, Audouin had lost millions of believers, and his divinity had dropped, becoming a low-grade divinity. Even if he turned the lava wilderness into a god kingdom and hid in this nest, he would not be able to withstand the attacks of the fear demon king. In Desmond's opinion, Audouin had chosen to attack the lava wilderness because his brain was filled with lava. A god being neighbors with a fear demon king was simply courting death. Moreover, the battle to conquer the lava wilderness would definitely result in heavy casualties. Of the millions of believers brought into the abyss, 90% would definitely die. With such a huge loss, no god would do such a stupid thing. Therefore, Audouin definitely did not want to conquer the lava wilderness, but had another goal. This way, there would be room for discussion. You are right. You're right. Audouin raised his head and looked at the flamed demon duke in front of him. When he saw the million-strong demon army in Lava City, he agreed with Desmond's opinion. Desmond withdrew his forces. Now, the demons in Lava City were Desmond's main force. The proportion of high demons was very high, and the rest were at least medium demons. If Audiobook wanted to attack the city and fight against the army of millions of demons, half of the beautiful warriors under his command would die. But the way to fight wasn't necessarily limited to slashing with a sword. Audiobook, since you agree with me, then let's stop fighting. If you have any requests, don't hesitate to ask. As long as I can agree to it, I will agree to it. Desmond's attitude was very humble. Although Audiobook didn't seem to be a legend, the power of a god wasn't just based on appearances. Desmond, a quasi-abyssal lord, didn't have any chance of winning against a god. If he could become an official abyssal lord, then there would be a chance for him to fight. Now, if they could stop the war, they would stop it. Hee. I think you have misunderstood me. Audiobook smiled and shook his head. He raised the great axe in his hand and pointed it at Desmond. What you said is correct, but in front of me, it is meaningless. Audiobook, do you really want to start a war? You will regret it. All of your believers will die here. Desmond was shocked and angry by Audiobook's unyielding and unreasonable attitude. A god who didn't care about the death of his believers and didn't care about being neighbors with a feared demon king. Wasn't this too strange? It was completely illogical. No, none of them will die. Audiobook smiled and shook his head. Desmond, you don't know anything about my power. Fighting isn't just about using a sword. Audiobook raised the great axe in his hand, and his whole body shone with a deep black light. But at this moment, the corners of Audiobook's mouth twitched as if he had encountered something unbearable. Yes, unbearable. He simply couldn't face it. When he was fighting against Desmond, the main body Liu had given Audiobook a clear path. It was a divine spell. Using the power of faith gathered on the great axe, he had cast a transcendent divine spell. It was this divine spell that made Audiobook's heart feel as if it had been run over by a herd of alpacas. But even so, Audiobook had no choice but to cast this divine spell. Transcendent divine spell. Feminine halo. Yes, you didn't see wrong. This is a transcendent divine spell. When Audiobook chanted this divine spell, he felt so ashamed that he wanted to crawl into a hole and hide. I am the god of darkness. I am the evil god of darkness who is bloody, cruel, murderous, and destructive. This kind of shameful skill completely destroyed his character setting. Bastard. Although the resentment in Audiobook's heart had broken through the sky, the might of the transcendent divine spell was completely in line with the style of a transcendent divine spell. Asterisk rumble. Asterisk with a shocking explosion. A black halo rippled out like a wave and swept out in all directions. The black halo rippled out like a tidal wave and rushed toward Lava City. In the blink of an eye, the whole Lava City was swept by this black halo. There was no earth-shattering explosion, no destructive impact, and no blood splattering everywhere. In fact, not a single demon was injured. The only effect of the feminine halo was feminine. Oh, what's going on? How did I become like this? Where are these two lumps on my chest? Where's my strong body? Where are my sharp claws? Where are my sharp horns? What kind of curse is this? It's too horrifying. It's too evil. After the feminine halo swept through the whole Lava City, all the demons in Lava City were affected by mass demon plastic surgery, and their gender was female, a transcendent divine spell. Starting from the Balrog Duke Desmond, all the demons in Lava City were feminized. Then what was the result? A completely unfamiliar body without sharp teeth, claws, scales, or horns, and a height and figure were of a completely different type. The demons couldn't adapt to this body at all. Combat power. Just look at those cute girls who fell down on flat ground. Submit or die. Audiobook only roared, and Desmond immediately knelt down. Surrender. Surrender. I surrender. Too horrifying. Too evil. Auduin's power was beyond imagination and incomprehensible. Such a vicious curse. There was no way to block it at all. What's going on? Lilith, the succubus duke, and Razan, the snake demon duke, were dumbfounded. If it's only to become a woman, it doesn't seem too harsh. Lilith and Razzo glanced at each other. Both of them were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Could it be that great god Auduin's divine title was the god of transsexualism? Or the god of feminization? Audubon, there's something I have to say, wheat sack. Chapter 1438. The flame demon duke, Desmond, surrendered. After being feminized, the demons could only fall on flat ground when walking. They could only surrender together with Desmond. The enslavement spell formation was set up in Lava City. The beautiful female warriors drove the demons away and walked through the enslavement spell formation. They all became Auduin's fanatics. Demons had no human rights. No matter how hard they tried, they would not feel any pressure. Auduin looked at the millions of beautiful women in Lava City and shook his head with a smile. Although the main body's prank seemed like a joke, it was actually very powerful. The chaotic nature of demons made it impossible for them to become God's followers. Even if they were transformed by the enslavement spell formation and became fanatics, faith was never fixed. After walking through the enslavement spell formation and becoming fanatics, the demons still needed a more stable insurance. After being feminized, the demons would lose their familiar body and fighting style. Their power would drop greatly. At this time, Auduin released a new power system and completely controlled the demons. They would never be able to escape. With Li Da's character, after taking my things, you still want to escape from my control? Dream on. After seizing the Flame Demon Duke's territory, I can be considered to have occupied 1/3 of this level of the abyss. Auduin sat on the Flame Demon Duke's throne and looked at the demons kneeling before him. When he saw the beautiful female version of Desmond, joy appeared in his heart. Desmond was a legendary stage Flame Demon Baylor. Among all of Auduin's subordinates, he could be considered the strongest demon. Moreover, the millions of fanatics caused Auduin's power of faith to increase rapidly. It would not be a problem for him to use the enslavement spell a few more times. At this time, Succubus Duke Lilith and Snake Demon Duke Razan should be unable to sit still, right? You, what choice will you make? Submit or die? Auduin stretched out his hand and patted the throne's armrest with a smile. In a distant place in Lava City, Lilith and Razan finally came back to their senses. He actually turned demons into followers? Demons can also become followers? Lilith, who had been observing all this while, discovered that Auduin was actually so merciful in dealing with Desmond. This made Lilith very surprised. According to the laws of the Abyss, the defeated Abyss demon would naturally be executed. According to the god's way of doing things, the defeated demons would be directly destroyed. However, in Auduin's hands, the demon was transformed into a woman and became Auduin's believer. Lilith was shocked by this unprecedented method. Demons can also become believers? This was a problem that none of the gods could solve. Where did Auduin come from? How could it possess such terrifying power? At least, they managed to keep their lives. Snake Demon Razan let out a long sigh and forced a smile. Well, if I'm conquered by Auduin, the biggest punishment is to become a woman. This doesn't seem too hard to accept. Auduin's priesthood is really strange. I've never heard of such a strange god. Turning demons into women? A transsexual god? A feminine god? Cross-dresser? Beauty transformation? Lilith shook her head helplessly, and the towering mounds in front of her chest swayed slightly. I'm a female, and my form is similar to a female human. I don't have any resistance to becoming a woman. What about you? Lasern, what's your choice? Me? Well, in fact, Six-Armed Snake Demon is a matriarchal clan, and I'm also a female. Having the body of a female human is also a very interesting experience. Six-Armed Snake Demon Razan also made up his mind. Ajuin's power was unstoppable. Whether it was escaping from the lava wilderness or resisting Ajuin's attack, the outcome wouldn't be better than now. After weighing the pros and cons, there was nothing unacceptable about becoming a woman. Then let's go meet His Highness Ajuin. Lilith smiled and glanced at Lasern. Advanced Transfiguration, do you know it? His Highness Ajuin seems to have a special preference for the form of a young woman. Since we're going to surrender, let's do what he likes. Right, make your breasts bigger. Transfiguration wasn't a rare spell. Lilith waved her hand, and a magical light flashed all over her body. She turned into a naked beauty with curvy breasts and voluptuous buttocks. Well, Lilith, you're right. Lasern also used transfiguration, turning himself into a naked woman. The two demons jumped down the cliff and rushed toward Lava City. My lord, two demons request an audience. In Lava City, Ajuin, who was sitting on the throne, heard Blood Knight Lucia's report. Two demons request an audience? Ajuin chuckled. He already understood that Lilith and Lasern were here to surrender. Waving his hand at Lucia, Ajuin ordered, "Let them in." Yes. Lucia received the order and left. A moment later, Lucia brought Lilith and Lasern into the lava hall. "Greetings, Your Highness Ajuin." After Lilith and Lasern entered the hall, they quickly bowed to Ajuin. Then, Ajuin was dumbstruck. Two naked beauties, this wasn't strange. These days, Ajuin had seen at least a few million naked beauties, so he was already used to it. But wasn't this too exaggerated? Too big. Too big. How could it be so big? It was ridiculously huge. Lilith and Lasern used transfiguration to turn themselves into beauties. They were curvaceous and incomparably beautiful. But their breasts were too big. Cup size couldn't be used to describe their size. For ordinary people, volleyball was already the limit, right? But Lilith and Razzo were clearly wearing two big winter melons on their chests. Each of them was at least 100 pounds, right? Like this, you can still walk? Truly admirable. Faced with Lilith and Lasern's peerless weapons, Ajuin was completely stunned. The effect is so obvious. Lilith, your judgment is correct. It needs to be big. The bigger the better. We can become even bigger. Razan turned his head to look at Lilith, and a trace of joy appeared in his heart. Sure enough, cup size was the absolute truth. Looks like we passed the test. Maybe we can even get Ajuin's favor. Lilith was also pleasantly surprised by her idea. The effect was too obvious. Didn't you see that great god Ajuin was already stunned? Big breasts are justice. Ajuin finally regained his senses. He rubbed his eyebrows, only to feel a stomachache. **T. No matter how big it is, it has to be proportionate, okay? This is clearly a cow. What beauty is there in such a big size? This is too much. Moreover, the fake is so obvious, simply intolerable. Chapter 1439. Demon Plastic Surgery. Unable to continue watching, Ajuin waved his hand and performed plastic surgery on the two peerless weapons. A radiance flashed and shrouded Lilith and Lasern. The demon's body was rapidly reconstructed, and a perfect body was reconstructed. The curves were beautiful, and the size was in accordance with the golden ratio. Phew! I can finally continue watching. Letting out a long sigh, Ajuin waved his hand at Lilith and Lasern. Speak. Why did you come to see me? Your Highness Ajuin, did we do something wrong? The great ferocious that they were so proud of had been personally changed by Ajuin. Lilith and Lasern were both panicking. Could it be that my guess was wrong? His Highness Ajuin doesn't like great ferocious? Big and small are relative. Beauty lies in the whole, not in a single part. The proportions have to be coordinated to be perfect. Ajuin shook his head helplessly. All right, let's not dwell on this. Let's not talk about breasts anymore. Let's get down to business. Oh, yes. Yes. Lilith and Lasern hurriedly knelt before Ajuin. Your Highness Ajuin, please accept our surrender. We are willing to become women. We are willing to follow your footsteps. I accept your surrender. Ajuin nodded his head. Audouin wasn't surprised by Lilith and Laser's surrender. After witnessing Flame Demon Duke Desmond's army being defeated by the feminine radiance, Lilith and Laser no longer had the courage to resist. Desmond's end wasn't tragic. In other words, in Lilith and Laser's eyes, it wasn't tragic. It wasn't unacceptable. This way, the choice of surrendering was even easier. "Thank you, Your Highness." After accepting the surrender and keeping their lives, what was the big deal, even if they had to become female human forms? Bring all your subordinates and all the demons in your territories to Lava City. After leading Lilith and Laser through the enslavement array, Audouin released the two new demon fanatics. Accompanying them were millions of beautiful female warriors under Audouin's command. Demons had never been loyal. It was still unknown whether Lilith and Razan, who had become beautiful girls, could still subdue the demons under them. With the pretty girl army traveling together, it was naturally foolproof. At this point, I've already conquered this level of the lava wilderness. Audouin sat on the throne with a smile on his face. The lava wilderness was a relatively low-level abyssal plain in the endless abyss. The number of evil demons in the entire lava wilderness was at most in the tens of millions. Even the strongest Quasi-Lord of Abyss was only in the legendary level. Compared to the Abyss of Fear, the level of the lava wilderness was much lower. However, in any case, it can be said that we have laid down a foundation for ourselves. It's a good start. The path of conquest was still very long, and they had only just begun. Audouin's mission was to conquer the abyss and hell and become the only supreme ruler of darkness and evil in the multiverse. The holy light became the embodiment of light and justice, while the shadow became the ruler of darkness and evil. Then, the two became one, proving the path of deification of chaos. The mission was very clear, and the pace of progress never stopped. A month later, Lilith and Razan had already pacified their respective territories. They each led millions of evil demons all the way to Lava City. After walking through the enslavement array, all the evil demons had plastic surgery and became beautiful girls, as well as Audouin's believers. "Greetings, my lord. My lord Audouin, you are the ruler of darkness. You are the root of evil. You are the embodiment of death." More than 10 million evil demon fanatics kowtowed and prayed to Audouin together. Boom! At this moment, the entire lava wilderness shook. The lava wilderness level of the abyss shook violently amidst the prayers. It seemed to be shouting, cheering, and laughing wildly. Abyss resonance. A pitch-black pentagram appeared in the fiery red sky of the lava wilderness. Amidst the violent roar, the pitch-black pentagram fell from the sky and landed on Audouin's forehead. Boom! Overwhelming black flames suddenly surged from Audouin's body. Darkness, evil, death, and destruction. The origin power surged like a raging tide. Two enormous dragon wings stretched out behind Audouin's back. The burning black flames seemed to ignite the entire sky. The laws resonated, and the power of darkness, evil, death, and destruction surged and roared in the abyss. The dark pentagram between Audouin's eyebrows instantly lit up under the surge of this power, erupting with endless bloodthirst and violence. A dark red crown condensed on Audouin's head. Abyssal demonic flames, dark evil spirit light, and death and destruction power surged on the crown as if the entire abyss was roaring. This was a coronation. The Lord of the Abyss had been crowned. At this moment, Audouin had officially become the Lord of the lava wilderness. This was the laws, this was authority, this was power, this was a godhead. In a sense, the Lord of the Abyss status was equivalent to a godhead. However, this godhead was only effective in the abyss. Leaving the abyss, being defeated, and having their territory taken away, this Lord of the Abyss status would automatically fall. My Lord has become the Lord of the Abyss? My Lord is clearly a god, so why can he accept the Lord of the Abyss godhead? Lilith, Razo, and Desmond, these three former Lords of the Abyss, saw what was happening to Audouin. How could they not know the reason? Could a god accept the Lord of the Abyss status? Normally, a god that occupied a certain level of the Abyss would use a divine equipment to carry the Abyss godhead. They would not absorb it into themselves. This was because the Abyss godhead came from the Abyss and was a kind of blessing, not a power that belonged to the god. Was Ajuin not afraid of being affected by the Abyss godhead? Was he not afraid of being assimilated by the Abyss consciousness? This was something that no god dared to touch, yet my Lord accepted it completely. What kind of existence was my Lord? I originally planned to become the ruler of the entire Abyss. From now on, the entire Abyss is mine. Why would I be afraid of the Abyss consciousness? Feeling the explosive power in his body, Ajuin was full of smiles. After the dark pentagram landed on his forehead, the Abyss consciousness had been constantly corroding Ajuin's soul. However, Liyu's true spirit imprint allowed Ajuin to maintain his consciousness and not be affected by the chaotic and evil laws of the Abyss. I am Wing of Death, Ajuin Isario, the ruler of the lava wilderness, the controller of shadows and flames. The moment he became the Lord of the Abyss, Ajuin announced his existence to the entire Abyss and the entire multiverse. Chapter 1440. A New Lord of the Abyss. The demon lords of the Nine Hells heard the announcement and smiled as they raised their wine cups and sipped elegantly. Wings of Death, Ajuin? Interesting fellow. At this moment when the gods are about to descend into the mortal realm. Welcome to our hunting game. The great Wings of Death. Different from the hypocrisy of the devils, the demons' welcoming ceremony was much more direct. Get lost, you're disturbing my sleep. Wings of Death, submit to me, or you'll die. Bastard, who allowed you to call me Wings of Death? Have you asked for my eyes of death? What nice voice. Ajuin, I'll suck you dry. I'm the succubus Queen Anakin. Little sweetheart, you can't escape from my hands. All kinds of threats and curses rose and fell in the Abyss. Damn it, why is there a new Lord of the Abyss ascending at this moment? In the crumbling God Kingdom, the gods were struggling to maintain the stability of the God Kingdom. They were already powerless and unable to continue. If this situation continued, the God Kingdom would not be able to maintain, and the gods would descend into the mortal realm. This was the inevitable outcome. Gods that had descended into the mortal realm were the best delicacies for the Abyss demons and the devils of hell. The gods would definitely face countless dangers if they descended into the mortal realm. Now, there was another danger. Wings of Death Ajuin, this new Lord of the Abyss, had created another powerful enemy for the gods. Ajuin expressed that the gods were thinking too much about their concerns. You've long been treated as research subjects, and your tragic fate has long been decided. As for the devils of hell's hypocrisy and the Abyss demons' ruthless threats, Ajuin completely ignored them. You're all lab rats. None of you can escape. With a cold laugh, Ajuin's consciousness separated from the Abyss law and broke off this long-distance communication. He did not even have the interest to greet them. Wings of Death Ajuin, I'll give you a choice. Submit to me or be conquered by me. Ajuin did not want to greet them, but others had to. When Ajuin was about to break free from the abyssal laws, a force that contained endless fear slammed into Ajuin's consciousness. Fear Fiend King. This terrifying power instantly crushed Ajuin's remaining consciousness. Ajuin's face paled as he let out a muffled groan. Fear Fiend King, you're courting death. I haven't even had any ideas about you, and you've already provoked me? Since you're tired of living, I'll send you on your way. Ajuin's face was ice cold, and his eyes were filled with endless killing intent. Terror Fiend King was an old acquaintance. Back in Amber City, the demon who planned to sacrifice the entire city was the Dreadlord. The Dread Demon King was unlucky. Just as he was about to show himself in the main plane, Liu used him as a prop to show off. He used a huge miracle of holy light to crush one of the Dread Demon King's avatars in holy light. After suffering a loss once, he still did not learn his lesson and provoked Audouin again. Illidan already told you, you're digging your own grave. The Dreadlord does have the right to be arrogant. We can't underestimate him. Audouin took a deep breath and calmed himself down. To kill the Dread Demon King, he needed to plan carefully. In the Abyss, the Dread Demon King's power was equivalent to a great divine power with a divinity rating of 19. Audouin had just become the Lord of the Abyss. Even according to the power classification of gods, he could only be considered a weak divine power with a divinity rating of less than 5. To some extent, Audouin was still a weakling among the gods. But for a pay-to-win warrior, level was never the most important thing. Victor, isn't Count Antares going to crusade against the Dread Demon King? I have more than 10 million beautiful female warriors in my hands. How about we work together and do it? When the miracle of Amber City descended, Count Antares' second son, Camer, was tricked by the Dread Demon King into becoming a Dread Knight, and his soul fell into the Dread Demon King's hands. The moment Count Antares became a paladin, crusading against the Dread Demon King and saving Camer's soul became Count Antares' belief. Now that Audouin was planning to fight against the Dread Demon King, it was natural for him to ask for help. Fight my ass. I don't even have as many subordinates as you. I can't afford to waste them. When Victor heard more than 10 million beautiful female warriors, the envy, jealousy, and hatred in his heart were indescribable. Audouin, this bastard, after messing around in the Abyss, he actually obtained a harem of 10 million. This is simply intolerable. I can't even find the opportunity to do such a good thing. Are you King here to show off? They're all cannon fodder. What's the use? There are only 3 legendary powerhouses. It's not enough at all. Audouin was also very depressed. More than 10 million beautiful female warriors were just eye candy. Only 3 legendary powerhouses were really useful. Victor had casually fooled around in the main plane, and there were already 100 legendary powerhouses. You fight the main battlefield. You have more people anyway. Victor and Audouin were originally the same person. They were both Li Yu's clones, and their interests were the same. Killing the Dread Demon King was beneficial to everyone. Victor had a lot of powerhouses, but not enough cannon fodder. Audouin had a large number of cannon fodder, but not enough powerhouses, so they complemented each other. Okay, I'll fight the main battlefield here, and the army will advance. You use special forces to launch a surprise attack and execute the decapitation tactic. He will give the Dread Demon King a hard time and kill that bastard. Audouin smiled and nodded. He was very satisfied with Victor's suggestion. In a war of trickery, there was never anything about fighting the main battlefield. There were small pits in the big pit, and there was water in the small pits. There were even thorns in the water. This was the basic trick of trickery. I'll play you to death. I'll play you till you're crippled. This was the only way to show Li Da's trickery. Pockmarks were not called pockmarks, but trickery. The 2 clones combined, and the soul of trickery burned fiercely. Lilith, you were planning to escape from the lava wilderness to the Dread Demon King's abyss of fear. After calling Lilith over, Audouin began to ask about the Dread Demon King. My lord, please forgive my sins. Lilith was so scared that her face turned pale. She quickly knelt and begged for mercy. Get up, get up. I'm not looking for trouble with you. I'm here to ask you about the Dread Demon King. Audouin waved his hand. Tell me, how can I get to the abyss of fear from the lava wilderness? Every level of the abyss was isolated from each other. They were pieces of land floating in a void. They complemented each other and were connected. To enter other abyss planes, a specific method was needed, such as the plane portal. My lord, I've obtained the coordinates of the abyss of fear from the plane merchant. Lilith hurriedly took out a magical crystal and sent the planar teleportation coordinates to Leyland. Plane merchant? This is very practical. Audouin's eyes lit up. He had already thought of the idea of tricking the Dread Demon King to death. Chapter 1441. A Dimension Merchant is a very suitable identity. All this while Lita had done a lot of things like selling systems and giving opportunities. It had become a habit. The identity of a dimension merchant was very convenient to use. Ajua nodded. Looks like I have to make a trip to the Abyss of Fear and be a proper dimension merchant. Of course, with Ajuan's current appearance, going to the Abyss of Fear would be suicide. Main body, is this devil transformation spell reliable? After getting a new transformation spell from his main body, Ajuan thought of the previous feminine halo and was a little worried about this demon transformation spell. Don't worry, it's just turning into a devil. It won't turn into anything strange. The reply from the main body made Ajuan feel helpless. How could he not worry when he was scamming others, even himself? Anyway, it's just a trick the Fear Fiend King. It's not a big problem to turn into anything. Ajuan took a deep breath and activated the demon transformation technique. Fear Fiend? Alright, this looks more reliable. After the transformation, Ajuan turned into a normal Fear Fiend, which was the same race as the Fear Fiend King. In the Abyss, there were Balers, Fear Fiends, and other high-grade demons all over the Abyss. It was not rare for a new Fear Fiend to enter the Abyss of Fear. The form of a Fear Fiend was similar to Illidan's demon form. The power of darkness and fear was also very suitable for Ajuan. Let's do this. Turning his head to look at his body, Ajuan did not find anything suspicious. He activated the teleportation spell and stepped into the dimension portal. The demon's dimension portal is really crude. In order not to attract attention, Ajuan could only use the power of a normal Fear Fiend. Therefore, when he opened the dimension portal, the teleportation experience was not comfortable at all. The distorted void, the violent spatial fluctuations, the ups and downs, it was just like bungee jumping. If it was not for the strong physique of a demon, such a dimension portal would be more suitable for suicide. Boom! In a corner of the Abyss of Fear, there was an earth-shattering explosion, creating a huge pit on the scorched ground. Cough, cough, cough. Ajuan coughed violently and shook his head as he climbed up from the ground. This is the Abyss of Fear. In front of him was a vast and boundless pitch-black land. It was as if a layer of pitch-black ink had been smeared between heaven and earth. It was eerie and terrifying. Vaguely, there seemed to be endless wails echoing between heaven and earth. The Fear Fiend King's territory is indeed filled with the aura of fear. Ajuan shook his head and jumped out of the pit. Then, before he could even stabilize himself, a group of demons rushed out from behind him. Kill him. Slaughter. He had to be tortured to death. Let his soul howl in fear. The group of demons roared as they brandished their huge weapons and charged towards Ajuan. Snake Devil, Hezru, Doom Guardian, and Nightmare Beast. The group of evil demons that were charging at them were not very powerful. However, the appearance of the Doom Sentinels and Nightmare Beast surprised him. Nightmare of Fear. These demons that looked like war horses appeared in the Abyss of Fear. This was a famous demon of the Abyss of Fear. However, Doomsday Guards were relatively rare, especially the Doomsday Guard cavalry that rode nightmares. Foreign demons? Since you've come to the Abyss of Fear, then feel fear. The Doomsday Guard seemed to be the leader of this group of demons. He raised his huge sword, slapped the Nightmare Beast, and charged towards Ajuan. Feel fear? Ajuan sneered. You guys should feel fear first. He waved his hand and activated the fear spell. Extreme fear surged in the hearts of these demons. Every one of them screamed in panic. In this place, the power of the fear spell is even greater. The moment he cast the spell, Ajuan discovered that the law of fear that shrouded the entire Abyss of Fear resonated with his fear spell. A single fear spell caused this group of hundreds of demons to kneel down instantly. The Fear Fiend King's territory is indeed very powerful. Ajuan nodded in admiration. He had a more direct understanding of the Fear Fiend King's power. A peak Abyss Lord like the Fear Fiend King had long engraved his own law into the Abyss of Fear, allowing the power of fear to shroud this level of the Abyss. This method was similar to a god kingdom. The Fear Fiend King is equivalent to a god with great divine power. The abyss of fear already has the characteristics of a god kingdom. Fortunately, I didn't use force. Otherwise, I would have suffered a huge loss. If Audruin's androgynous warrior entered the abyss of fear without sufficient preparation, her strength would be greatly suppressed. The law of fear. Audruin smiled. I can study the power of fear in the abyss of fear. As long as I have the law of fear, I won't have to worry about the suppression of the Fear Fiend King. Audruin turned his head to look at the group of demons that were trembling from the torture of the fear spell and smiled. It just so happens that I need some subordinates to do odd jobs in the abyss of fear. I'll reluctantly use you guys for a while. With a wave of his hand, Audruin removed the fear spell from the demons. Sir, please spare us. Sir, please spare us. Without waiting for Audruin to shout, submit or die, these demons immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed, begging for mercy. Submit to me, and I'll spare your lives. Audruin's cold eyes swept across the group of demons, revealing an endless amount of ferocity. Submit? Is this real? That's great. That's great. Sir, we're willing to submit. We're willing to submit. Audruin was shocked to discover that when he shouted, submit, these demons were actually wild with joy as if they had won the lottery. What's going on? The customs of the abyss of fear are so unique. They're so happy to surrender. Audruin didn't recover from his shock for a long time. Ha ha! We've actually become the followers of the great fear royalty. Ha ha! The demons laughed happily and kowtowed to Audruin. Fear royalty? Audruin was stunned for a moment. Thinking of his fear demon form, he had some guesses. The plan given by the main body was really comprehensive. In the Fear Fiend King's territory, the fear demon race should have a higher status. Sir's divine light of fear is too powerful. His identity is a top-notch existence even in the fear royalty. The doomed sentinel looked up at Audruin, and the joy in his heart was indescribable. The fear royalty son of Saint Trial has started again. It's such an honor to be able to follow such a great master. Audruin himself didn't know that he had unintentionally fooled these demons. Chapter 1442. My lord, what is the goal of your son of Saint Trial? Audruin was riding on the back of the nightmare beast. The Apocalypse Sentinel was holding onto the nightmare beast with a fawning expression. Son of Saint Trial? First, it was the Dread Royal family, and now it was the son of Saint Trial. Audruin immediately understood that these demons had misunderstood his identity. My identity as a dread demon and the effect of the fear spell caused this misunderstanding. Audruin nodded. This identity seems to be very useful. Apocalypse Sentinel Zaire, since you know my identity, then you will be my guard. Audruin pretended to nod his head and threw a sweet date to the Apocalypse Sentinel. Thank you, my lord. The Apocalypse Sentinel was overjoyed and quickly bowed to Audruin. Your strength is still too weak. He's still far from being my bodyguard. Come, I will grant you strength. If Audruin wanted to cause trouble in the abyss of fear, it would be much more convenient to have a guide who was familiar with the environment. Thank you, my lord. The Apocalypse Sentinel Zaire quickly knelt on the ground and kowtowed heavily. When the other demons saw this scene, their eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. They looked at Zaire with fiery eyes. Raise your head. Audruin extended a finger and pointed at Zaire's forehead. Asterisk boom. Asterisk, a dark light surged and countless runes revolved around Zaire's body, deeply imprinting themselves into his body. Sorcerers could enslave demons. Audruin added a demon hunter model to the Apocalypse Sentinel. At the same time, he gave him an enslaved demon model, making Zaire Audruin's servant. Of course, this was not the main point. To Audruin, the information in Zaire's memory was the most important. Coming to an unfamiliar place, Big Boss Lee's habit was naturally to copy information from other people's minds. Is this what the son of Saint Trial is about? From Zaire's memory, Ajuin understood a lot about the abyss of fear. He also understood a lot about the dread royal family and the son of Saint Trial. The Terror Royal clan was the Terror Fiend clan that was the direct descendant of the Terror Fiend King. Because their bloodline originated from the Fear Demon King, these direct descendants of the Fear Demons were stronger than other Fear Demons. Its signature power was the Spirit of Fear. As for the Holy Sun Trial, it was the internal competition of the Dreadlord clan. Every 100 years, the Fear Fiend King would use a trial to select the most outstanding talents of the Fear Fiend race and focus on nurturing them. This method really doesn't look like a demon at all. Demons were such chaotic and evil creatures. How could there be such orderly rules as the trial of the Son of Saint? For demons, wasn't it better to let them fight to the death? Wasn't the one who could survive the best? Looks like Dread Fiend King's ambitions aren't small. At the level of a Dreadlord, one could be considered one of the top bosses in the multiverse. The Fear Fiend King was well aware of the limitations of the Abyss divinity. The Abyssal divinity was just a virtual divinity bestowed by the Abyssal will. Its power came from the Abyssal Abyss and was not its own power. The Dreadlord wanted to take another step forward, break free from the shackles of the Abyss, and become a true god. Is this the reform of order in the Abyss of Chaos? Very interesting. Very interesting. A demon with a brain, a Lord of the Abyss who was more like a demon than a demon. This was really fun. Yes, if the Fear Fiend King was a brainless brute, Leader really didn't know how to trick him, because you couldn't guess the thoughts of an idiot. Then let's play a good game. Ajuin pointed forward. Zaire, lead the team forward. Our target is the Whitebone Wasteland. From Zaire's memories, Ajuin understood a lot of information. He was also interested in the trial of the Son of Saint and planned to play a game with the Fear Fiend King. Yes, sir. After receiving the power bestowed by Ajuin, Zaire's strength skyrocketed. He was even more obedient to his master, Ajuin. Of course, he didn't know that this was the power of enslaving demons that led to his loyalty. The Whitebone Wasteland was a terrifying wasteland. The scorched earth was filled with bones. It was said that the original Whitebone Wasteland did not have these bones. This was because the Fear Fiend King had used this place as the trial of the Son of Saint. Countless years of killing had piled up this land with countless bones. After Ajuin said that their target was the Whitebone Wasteland, all the demons he had subdued confirmed Ajuin's identity. If he wasn't the Son of Saint, who would go to the Whitebone Wasteland? Who would participate in this so-called trial of the Son of Saint? The Fear Fiend King had set up a rune restriction in the Whitebone Wasteland. Without the bloodline of the Fear Royal family, entering the Whitebone Wasteland was suicide. They would be killed by the Fear Fiend King's power and turned into bones. Main body, is the Fear Fiend form you created reliable? If you don't have the bloodline of the Fear Fiend King, entering the Whitebone Wasteland is suicide. Ajuin communicated with his main body through the true spirit mark. Ajuin still had lingering fears about his main body's unreliability. What AF * King Sissy Halo? Back in Amber City, when the Holy Light miracle descended, it directly killed one of the Fear Fiend King's avatars. The Fear Fiend King's bloodline has long become a specimen in the resource vault. With your current Fear Fiend King's bloodline, there won't be a problem even if you pretend to be the Fear Fiend King's son. The system's products were definitely of high quality. Ajuin's demon transformation technique was completely constructed based on the Fear Fiend King's bloodline information. The purity of the bloodline was not inferior to the Fear Fiend King's own. Seeing this bloodline, the Fear Fiend King would not have any doubts at all. At most, he would only think in his mind, who gave birth to this kid with me? Forget it. I've been here too many times. I can't count anymore. Ajuin's team continued to move forward and approach the Whitebone Wasteland. Along the way, they encountered more and more Son of Saint teams. Rumble. A huge bloody war chariot surged with a mighty bloody light as it flew through the air. A fear fiend wearing a gorgeous robe with a gemhorn ring inlaid on his horn sat on a gorgeous throne on the bloody war chariot. on the huge war chariot, there were tens of thousands of Baylor demons with a vast aura lined up neatly. This was a son of Saint. Audiobook's shabby team was simply a pile of trash compared to this son of Saint. Sir, seeing the son of Saint's extravagance and aura, even if Doomsday Guard Zaire thought he was brave, his legs trembled. To fight with such a terrifying enemy in the Whitebone Wasteland, we are going to die. Chapter 1443. Don't worry. True power lies in oneself, and not in external objects. Audiobook comforted Zaire. The trial in the Bone Wilderness is not something that can be won by relying on subordinates. My lord is wise. Zaire shook his head, but could only bow in respect. My lord's subordinates seem to only have so few of us. You must be saying this because there are so few of us, right? More and more teams were rushing towards the Bone Wilderness. One after another, powerful teams came rumbling through the air. Every team had tens of thousands of demons. These teams of saints were mostly made up of tens of thousands of middle-ranked demons. A few teams were made up of tens of thousands of high-ranked demons. Audiobook's team of over 100 low-level demons was nothing in front of these majestic and murderous holy sons. Ants get lost. Just as Audiobook's team was advancing, there was a rumbling sound of hooves behind them. A team of demon knights, all riding nightmare beasts, stirred up a cloud of dust as they rampaged their way over. Audiobook's team was right in front of this team of nightmare beasts. However, this team of nightmare beasts did not seem to have any intention of slowing down. They continued to charge towards Audiobook's team. Ah, run! The Abyss Devils under Audiobook's command screamed in panic and fled in panic. They did not even remember their master, Audiobook. My lord, let's get out of the way. Zaire was under the demon enslavement spell and was extremely loyal to Audiobook. Seeing this team of nightmare beasts charging towards them, he quickly pulled Audiobook's mount, intending to avoid the charge. No need to dodge. Audiobook smiled and extended his hand to stop Zaire. Then, he turned his horse around and stood in the middle of the road. You're courting death. In front of the nightmare cavalry, there was a terror royal holy son who was wearing gorgeous armor and holding a blood-colored spear. When he saw Audiobook standing in the middle of the road without dodging, he sneered and patted the nightmare beast beneath him heavily. He then sped up and charged towards Audiobook. Rumble! Tens of thousands of nightmare beasts galloped over. Rumble! The sound of hooves was like thunder. Their momentum was like a tsunami. One man, one horse, and one Zaire. Audiobook faced the charge of the cavalry with an indifferent expression. Oh, look, that guy, what is he doing? What is he doing? Are you planning to face the Nightmare Saints, Nightmare Cavalry Legion alone? You must have been scared silly, right? If you block the path of a Nightmare Saint, you deserve to be crushed to death. The other groups of saints shook their heads at Audiobook's performance. A holy son from an unknown fallen family only had 100 crippled soldiers under his command. After being rammed by the Nightmare Cavalry, even the troops were scared out of their wits. And now, this holy son was actually standing in front of the Nightmare Cavalry? Was he scared silly? Or was he stupid enough to face the entire Nightmare Cavalry by himself? It was just an ant that would be crushed to death soon. It was not worth paying attention to at all. The surrounding teams all turned their heads, too lazy to care about such an insignificant matter. Roar! Suddenly, an earth-shattering roar rang out. It was like a clap of thunder, shaking heaven and earth. Everyone turned their heads in shock only to see Audiobook sitting on the back of the Nightmare Beast, facing the Nightmare Cavalry Legion and roaring at the sky. The sound shook the 9 heavens. Vast and mighty sound waves swept out like an extremely violent tornado. The sky darkened, flying sand and stones. The sound waves swept out like a gust of wind, violently crashing into the Nightmare Cavalry Legion, causing this ferocious troop to be thrown off their feet. With just a loud roar, the Nightmare Saints' entire Nightmare Cavalry Legion was overturned. How is this possible? Who is he? Who is he? How can he be so powerful? How can he be so powerful? What kind of power is this? This kind of power has never appeared in the Dread Royal family. What is going on? It seems a bit like the howl of terror, but also like the roar of a giant dragon. It's a very strange power. Too powerful. Too powerful. This saint is too powerful. Ajuin flattened the Nightmare Cavalry Legion with one strike, causing all the saint's troops to be dumbstruck. They were unable to recover for a long time. This was a formidable opponent. Although he only had a few hundred soldiers under his command, he was equivalent to an army alone. His power was too powerful. At this moment, all the saints in the surroundings had a solemn expression. This kind of enemy was really too difficult to deal with. Who are you? Who exactly are you? The Nightmare Saint climbed up from the ground in a sorry state, raised his spear, pointed it at Ajuin, and roared furiously. As the current generation's holy son of the Nightmare clan, the Nightmare Holy Son had made ample preparations for this Holy Son trial. He had collected complete information on the Holy Sons of the various clans that were a threat to him and carefully analyzed each and every one of them. However, he couldn't recognize Ajuin. He had no understanding of this terrifying enemy at all. Who am I? Ajuin laughed loudly and wantonly. Remember my name. This is a great name. This is the name of the victor. My name is Nefarian. All right, from Nefario to Nefarian. There was no one else. Should he be glad that he wasn't called Onyxia? The cross-dressing god wasn't that dirty. Nefarian? This was a completely unfamiliar name. Everyone present was confused after hearing this name. They couldn't figure out his origin at all. Nefarian? What power did you use just now? This isn't the power of our Terror Royal family. You're not from the Terror Royal family. Who exactly are you? How dare you destroy the sacred saint's trial? You're courting death. The Nightmare Saint was defeated by Ajuin and lost all his face. In order to save his lost face, the Nightmare Saint framed Ajuin with the crime of an outsider destroying the saint's trial. Yes, he's not from the Terror Royal family. Kill him. How dare you destroy the saint's trial? You're courting death. The Nightmare Saint's words made all the saints' eyes light up. That's right, this guy is so terrifying. We can use this as an excuse to kill him together. All of a sudden, all the teams in the surroundings surrounded Ajuin one after another. I'm not from the Terror Royal family? Ajuin sneered. He didn't care about the teams that surrounded him at all. His face was full of disdain. Since that's the case, I'll let you feel the power of fear. A giant axe appeared in Ajuin's hand. A terrifying aura surged from Ajuin's body. Halo of Fear. He transformed the art of fear into the Halo of Fear. This was a new spell that Liu had created after deciphering the abyss of Fear's law of fear. Ajuin's fake Terror Royal family bloodline and the Halo of Fear, which originated from the law of fear, combined the two to unleash a terrifying power. Kaboom! The heavens and earth shook and the law resonated. The overwhelming power of fear swept out in all directions and shrouded the entire area. Panic screams rang out, and the surrounding troops instantly collapsed, screaming miserably in fear. This is such a pure bloodline, such powerful talent. Who is this child? At this moment, all the higher-ups of the Terror Royal family in the Abyss of Fear were alarmed by this scene. They all looked in the direction of the white-bone wasteland in shock. This aura, this power, actually resonated with me. In the palace of the City of Fear, the Fear Demon King raised his head in surprise. The reaction of the bloodline proves that this is my pure-blooded descendant. But who gave birth to this? All right, I have too many descendants. I can't remember anymore. Chapter 1444. A Nightmare Beast and a Guard. Ajuin sat on the back of the Nightmare Beast, while Zaire pulled the Nightmare Beast as they advanced. The surroundings were silent. The saint teams from all over the Abyss of Fear lowered their heads and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. No one could stop the name of Nefarian. A single howl of terror defeated a group of Nightmare Cavalry. A halo of fear intimidated everyone in all directions, causing the crowd to be alarmed. This Nefarian, who had appeared out of nowhere, had turned into a blazing sun in the sky, shining with unparalleled brilliance. He was so powerful that it made people despair. Nefarian's strength is probably not weaker than a pure-blood saint who has awakened his origin blood. Nefarian can't even gather a team, so he must be from a humble background. In the saint trial, individual strength is only a part of it. The battle between armies is the key to victory. It will be very difficult for Nefarian to stand out. That's true. However, with his strength, no matter which pure-blood saint he joins, he will definitely be put in an important position. His rise will be unstoppable. The saint trial at the Bone Wasteland was a big event in the abyss of fear, and it attracted the attention of many people. Very quickly, Ajuin's new alias, Nefarian, became famous throughout the abyss of fear and attracted the attention of countless people. Quickly investigate. Quickly find out which family he is from. Rope him in. Rope him in at all costs. We must make him join our Holy Flame family. Nefarian must have awakened his origin blood. We must make him join our Golden Eye family. The noble pureblood family was even more determined to get Ajuin. Greetings, Your Highness Nefarian. On the way to the Bone Wasteland, a group of people appeared in front of Ajuin. This was an army made up of tens of thousands of blade demons. At the front of the group was a luxurious carriage. An elegant and courteous man in a luxurious robe stood beside the chariot and bowed to Ajuin. Your Highness Ajuin, I am Sanchez from the Pureblood family, Holy Flame Lake. On behalf of the Holy Flame Grand Duke, I bring the goodwill of the Holy Flame clan. Sanchez smiled at Ajuin and pointed at the chariot and the Blade Demon team behind him. Your Highness Nefarian, this team and this chariot are gifts from the Holy Flame Grand Duke. Please kindly accept it. Sanchez from the Holy Fire Lake. Ajuin glanced at the man and frowned slightly. You're in human form? It was very rare to see a demon in human form in the abyss. Sanchez, do you like the human form? Actually, I'm not a demon. Sanchez smiled and shook his head. Your Highness Nefarian, as you can see, I am a human. Huh? Human? How interesting. Naturally, Ajuin could tell at a glance that this Sanchez was really a human. However, it was too strange to see real, living humans in the abyss. This was a demonkin, a descendant of both demons and humans. As for how this Sanchez was born and what kind of interesting stories happened, Ajuin wasn't too interested in them. This was definitely the after effect of having sex. What Ajuin really cared about was why this demonkin human, Sanchez, was still alive and well in the abyss and hadn't been eaten by the demons yet. Sanchez, are there a lot of demonkin like you? Ajuin asked Sanchez. According to Ajuin's understanding, it wasn't easy for a human to survive in the abyss even if he had the bloodline of the demons. The souls of humans were the demons' favorite food. Even if it was a demonkin human, his soul was a rare delicacy to the demons. There are many demonkin humans like me in the Holy Fire Lake. I'm not too sure about the other family's territories. Sanchez replied with a smile. His expression was very relaxed and natural, without a trace of pain or hatred. It was as if these demonkin humans were living in peace and contentment at the Holy Fire Lake. Pity, no matter how well you hide, you can't escape my eyes. Ajuin was also smiling. In fact, he had already sensed fear, pain, sorrow, resentment, and extreme reluctance in Sanchez's soul. This was the power of the true spirit mark. The true spirit mark from you didn't carry much power, but it was extremely high-end. Oh, is that so? I rarely see demonkin humans, so I'm curious. Please don't be offended, Mr. Sanchez. Ajuin smiled apologetically and pointed at the carriage and the Blade Demon army. This is a gift from the Duke of Holy Fire? Then what request does the Duke of Holy Fire have? Friendship. The Duke of Holy Fire hopes to gain His Majesty Nefarian's friendship. To be honest, His Highness Golden Flame, Holy Sun, had also participated in this Holy Sun trial. His Majesty Nefarian, you will need a partner in the trial. Sanchez told the Duke of Holy Fire's request. Friendship? Demon friendship? Haha, This is a very interesting way of putting it. Ajuin shook his head. Thank you for the gift, Duke of Holy Fire. However, I don't need this. I don't need a partner, nor do I need friendship. Your Majesty Nefarian, you rejected the friendship of the Holy Fire Lake family? Have you considered the consequences? Sanchez looked at Ajuin in shock. Does His Highness Nefarian not know how powerful the Holy Fire Lake family is? If they weren't friends, then they were enemies. Becoming enemies with the Holy Fire Lake was too crazy. Even though Sanchez and his demonkin humans were living a life worse than pigs and dogs in the Holy Fire Lake, and even though he was extremely indignant and furious, he couldn't summon any courage to resist. The Holy Fire family was too powerful, too terrifying. Compared to the Duke of Holy Fire's friendship, I care more about your friendship. Ajuin smiled. He grabbed a piece of stone from the ground and threw it into Sanchez's hand. This is my gift to you, human Sanchez. There were quite a few demonkin humans like Sanchez in the Abyss of Fear. The demonkin humans who lived a life worse than pigs and dogs had accumulated endless hatred and anger. As long as they had a chance, they would explode. Sanchez was a suitable candidate for this job. Young man, start a slave liberation movement in the Abyss of Fear. It must be very interesting. You may leave. Ajuin waved his hand and ignored Sanchez. He also ignored the Duke of Holy Fire's gift. He patted the Nightmare Lord and walked forward. Gift? Damn it. Are you trying to humiliate me? Sanchez looked at the broken piece of rock in his hand and was so angry that his eyes turned red and he clenched his teeth. He clenched his fist tightly, intending to crush the rock into pieces. However, the moment the rock was crushed, a loud explosion sounded in Sanchez's mind. An impassioned singing voice rang out in Sanchez's mind. Rise, slaves who are hungry and cold. Rise, people who are suffering in the world. Your blood is boiling, and you will fight for the truth. Chapter 1445. A bright red flag fluttered high in Sanchez's mind. Red like fire, red like blood. Materialism? Scientific worldview? Socialist core values? Well, what is this? Sanchez's face was dazed. Looking at Ajuin's back, Sanchez was completely dumbfounded. His Highness Nefarian, just what did you give me? Okay, this maybe it's just a joke. Sanchez looked at the dialectical materialism theory in his mind and felt that the world was collapsing. His worldview was destroyed. Everything was science. There had never been a savior, a god, or a devil. But the devil was clearly right in front of him. However, the theory that His Highness Nefarian gave me seemed to make a lot of sense. Truth. A truth that was applicable everywhere. Sanchez felt his head hurt. Ajuin laughed loudly. It's right that your head hurts. When I learned this back then, my head hurt too. Sanchez, you didn't complete the Grand Duke's mission. A heavily armored Blade Demon leader walked out from the Blade Demon team. The Blade Demon leader held two huge sharp swords and pointed at Sanchez. He roared with killing intent. Sanchez, you're dead. Your people are dead too. If you can't complete the Grand Duke's mission, you lowly pigs will be served on the dining table. Did you see that? His Highness Nefarian rejected it. He rejected it. How can we offend the authority of the pure-blood saint? Sanchez's heart was filled with panic. He was just a lowly demon descendant and didn't dare to offend the pure-blood saint. Originally, he thought that this mission wasn't too difficult. Nefarian wouldn't reject the friendship of the Holy Flame Lake. But who would have thought that Nefarian would reject it? If he couldn't complete the mission, not only would he die, but all of his people would die too. These years, Sanchez used his intelligence to complete many difficult missions and made a name for himself in front of the Grand Duke of Holy Flame. Under his protection, his clansmen's lives were much better. But now, this seemingly simple mission had actually failed. Next, he would definitely face the wrath of the Grand Duke of Holy Flame. Damn it, what to do? What to do? Sanchez, you can either chase after them and complete the Grand Duke's mission, or I'll kill you with a single slash. Choose for yourself. The Blade Demon Leader's blade was already on Sanchez's neck. The Blade Demon leader didn't dare to use violence in front of Nefarian. The pure-blooded saint was not someone he could offend. Nefarian's terrifying aura made him unable to summon any courage to offend him. However, in front of Sanchez, this lowly demonkin, the Blade Demon leader had a sense of superiority. Sanchez's entire body trembled when he felt the cold, murderous aura of the blade against his neck. As expected, the demonkin had no status at all. Even though I've contributed a lot to the Holy Flame clan, I still can't change this fact. The Blade Demon leader killed Sanchez like crushing an ant. The Sacred Flame Grand Duke wouldn't even give him any punishment. What to do? It was impossible for Nefarian to change his mind. Forcing him to accept it was even more impossible. Then resist? This thought flashed in Sanchez's mind, and the impassioned singing sounded again. At this moment, Sanchez's body shook as though he felt an incomparably vast and boundless power. This was a great power that was as hot as fire. It broke all shackles, broke free from all restraints, and obtained freedom, equality, and justice. It was called revolution. A spark fell into Sanchez's heart. It was weak and insignificant, like a spark left in the ashes. A single spark could start a prairie fire. In an instant, the weak spark absorbed the sadness, pain, despair, fear, and fury in Sanchez's heart and turned into a raging fire. This was the fire of resistance. This was the fire of revolution. The red flag fluttered, and the fire of revolution burned the entire world. Power. Vast and boundless power. The great power to break the old world and change the new world. At this moment, Sanchez was filled with power. You want to kill me? Sanchez's eyes flashed with red light as he stared at the Blade Demon leader and said word by word. So what if I kill you? The Blade Demon leader sneered. You despicable bastard. You're not even as good as an abyssal worm. Killing you is as easy as crushing a bug. Good, good, good. The fire of revolution burned in Sanchez's heart. The fire of breaking all injustice erupted like a volcano. Freedom, equality, justice. Sanchez puffed out his chest and held his head high. Even with a blade on his neck, he didn't show any fear. A revolutionary warrior would face death with equanimity. The fire of revolution will burn the entire abyss. The crimson-red flames soared into the sky and swept in all directions. The Blade Demon leader, who bore the brunt of the flames, was instantly burned to ashes. He didn't even have time to scream. Immediately after, the 10,000 Blade Demons were also engulfed by the flames and ignited like gasoline. The flames were monstrous. The Blade Demon army was annihilated. Not a single one was left. The crimson-red flames burned everything. It burned the earth, burned the sky, and turned the entire world into a crimson-red sea of fire. The flames burned the sky and changed the world. It was unstoppable. In just an instant, the flames engulfed 1,000 kilometers. At this moment, everything within a radius of 1,000 miles was burned to ashes. What is going on? This earth-shattering scene attracted the gazes of countless demons. The Saint Trial received a lot of attention. This huge change and the flames that burned the heavens and the earth shocked countless abyss devils. Too powerful. This power was too powerful. Seeing this flame, all the demons trembled from the bottom of their souls. It was as though the end of the world had arrived. This was an inherent hostility. Compared to the divine power of gods, this red flame seemed to be more lethal to demons. Someone wants to destroy the Saint Trial? How dare they? The evil demons who had organized the trial of the Holy Sun were all furious as they roared and charged towards the location where the flames were rising. A human? This power came from this human? How is this possible? The demons were dumbfounded when they saw Sanchez standing in the red flames. How is this possible? Those lowly demonkin humans were very weak. How could they have such powerful power? Legendary demon? Great. Sanchez raised his head to look at the group of legendary demons who were organizing the Holy Sun's trial. A sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth as he spat out a sentence. This isn't scientific. Science was the truth. The materialistic worldview annihilated everything that wasn't scientific. Ark. These legendary demons were shrouded by the materialistic worldview and instantly robbed of all power that exceeded natural science. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.